I brought gifts for you guys.
You brought presents?
Is this okay if I put this stuff here?
Oh, yeah.
You put it right in front of you. Yeah. What are the gifts? What are these?
I brought some cookies.
Dan brought us cookies.
Cookies?
Oh,
From
nice.
where?
Wow.
Where are they?
What's this place called? Oh, Lynn Sandy's.
Lynn
You brought us some Lynn Sandy's.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Today's podcast is brought to you by
Did you? Oh, he got us Shamrock.
The Drip
cookies.
Bar.
Yeah, here.
the Drip Bar.
There's the. I don't know if you can see
wow.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I might try one.
Yeah.
So, Jamie,
That's awesome.
I'm happy you're here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Our past guest, George Uhas, connected us, and so I want to give everybody a little bit of context,
Sure.
right? So ever since I was a kid, I always liked the underdog. I was the guy who supported the Buffalo Bills from 1994 to 1996, where they never won a Super Bowl but made it every year, and that was like a big thing for me.
But they beat my Dolphins every year.
Yeah, but they still didn't win
I
a
know.
Super Bowl.
I know. It
Right?
was bad.
So I thought we had a chance this year, but like that's how psycho I am. I always like to listen to the people, especially now, who others say are incorrect. Because I think a lot of people, especially Americans and Pennsylvanians, don't have enough time to pay attention to a lot of stuff that may affect them. They got their jobs, their kids, their plays, their ballets, their sports, all that stuff. So they don't have enough time to really digest and go through some of the stuff that really affects them. And people like you do. You're like, I'm going to look through this stuff because I really feel like it might be an issue. So you tell me about the Citizens Advisory of Pennsylvania.
So, should I give you the long story or the short version? Because
we got time.
it's
However
okay.
you want to tell it.
I'll tell you. Citizens Advisory was born out of a passion from parents throughout Luzerne County.
Okay.
And in March of 2020, really when the pandemic hit, they closed schools down. It was a shock to everybody.
Yeah.
They closed schools down. You know the rest of the story. And when that happened, specifically to the school district, if I'm just speaking about school districts right now,
Yeah.
in March of 2020, Donald Trump launched the American Rescue Plan. And every school district got a chunk of money. And that money was meant to be used for masks. It was meant to be used for social distancing. It was meant to be used for upgrades to your ventilation system.
Yeah, I remember they were talking about HVAC systems.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really, that's about it. That's what the grant was for. My personal school district got $291,000 to support that. You know, we have about 1,800 students in my school district, and that was kind of the beginning of the pandemic. At that point, you know, things were happening, more data was coming out, the presidency changed. July of 2021 rolls around. Now, keep in mind.
So we're like 15, 16 months after this.
Yes.
Yeah.
July of 2021 rolls around, and the Biden administration jumps on the American Rescue Plan, the emergency order that was already in place, that he says now is going to expire May 11th of this year.
Is this the EUA? The emergency use authorization? Is
No,
that part of it?
That's separate from the
Okay,
That's
okay.
the vaccine.
Okay.
So in July of 2021, my same school district with the same amount of students received $2.9 million
From 200 and some thousand.
from $291,000. And then they received roughly 2.9 million. I mean, there's a little change in there. It could be 2.8 something, but right around $2.9 million. And I started to look, it was I went to a school board meeting, and shame on me because I wasn't a regular school board member goer. I just didn't go.
Most people don't know what goes on at school board meetings.
Well, that's what I do for fun now. I'm sick. Okay. I actually look forward to them.
Oh, is this the shark pit? Oh, okay. I'll jump in here. All right, great.
I actually really enjoy consulting and instructing our government now, because I didn't really understand how to do that and how to really be a partner with them.
Okay.
So, of course, I went to the first school board meeting, and I'm on Zoom. And I give this long speech, and all of a sudden my Facebook starts blowing up from people I don't even know, text messages from people I do know. They're like, and when I say blowing up in an 1,800 student school district, I got like 3 messages. Okay. That's what blowing up is. No, I'm kidding. But I got 8 to 10 messages, and people are like, thank you for speaking up. Somebody finally spoke up and talked about this.
So 15 months later, what was your words that you said at the school board meeting?
Well, in July of 2021, when we got the $2.9 million, this is the grant. I don't know where I can put this.
You can see. Okay. Yeah, you just hand it up. You hold it up right there. They can see it.
This is called the American Rescue Plan Grant that you can download off of our website, citizensadvisorypa.com. There's a download section there that you can get this document. And a nice one that's on my web. You can also find it like on Google or whatever too. But the nice thing about this one, I went through and I highlighted it. So it's a really easy read. It's 78 pages. So you can really find what you're looking for in it.
Okay.
I didn't find this yet. I had just,
at the time you made the speech, you didn't see that. Okay.
This was in September. So our school district was fantastic, honestly, throughout the pandemic. They offered an opt-out form for masks. Our superintendent is phenomenal. And when I made my speech at the school board at the Zoom meeting, the reason I spoke that day is because our school district had already planned to go back to school with no limitations.
So no restrictions.
No restrictions. Well, the acting secretary at the time, Allison Beam.
Is it the acting secretary of
Pennsylvania?
Because they appointed like a secretary of state, right? Didn't they? Do you remember that?
No,
there was like an acting secretary.
It was health.
It was when Rachel Levine. Yeah.
Federal
Woman of the Year, Rachel Levine.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So they appointed Tom Wolf appointed Allison Beam as the acting director, and 2 days before we were about to go back to school, she filed that schools had to go back again with all the restrictions. This was 2 days before our kids were going back to school. Well, the school board meeting happened to be coming up like a week later after this all happened. And I got on and I gave a speech about why are we only considering CDC data? We're a year and a half into this. There's over 120 other studies being done by Robert Malone, Dr. McCarty,
McCullough, Jay Bhattacharya, like all those guys. Yeah.
And I'm like, and here, the only study that the school district is following is the CDC. Well, long story short, I decided to hold a little, kind of like a parent meeting in my backyard.
Oh no, you organized.
Yes. And my nephew owns a tent rental company, and I said, hey, can you put tents up? I don't know if 10 people are coming or 20 or 100
or none.
So I just put it out there. Well, we had 75 people in my backyard under a tent in Sweet Valley. So It's a very small community. And we started talking about, okay, what are we going to do? All right, we're going to go to the next school board meeting. We're not going to wear masks. We're going to make a statement.
Right.
Now, this is before I met that was the first night George Uhas showed up at my house. And I never met George before this.
Really?
And I get done talking and George is like, can I say a couple words? Well, half an hour later, George got done talking and was like, they're trampling your rights. Pennsylvania told us about the Quakers,
William Penn,
local control, the acting secretary cannot do this. She doesn't have the authority, blah, 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 blah. Well, that even fired us up more.
Mm-hmm.
So then we went to the school board meeting in October. They had it in person and we walked in and there was 50 of us in the room without masks on. And the president of the school board at the time gavelled out, and they went into a meeting and he came out and he said, you have 1 minute to put your masks on or we're going to cancel this meeting and, adjourn. Well, nobody moved. Nobody put a mask on. They adjourned. And that kind of started everything. All right. At that point in time, I'm going to fast forward. My son was contact traced again from school. It just kept.
Now that means that he was in contact with someone who may or may not have had
right
COVID.
Right. And every time he had to go home for 5 days. Okay.
So up in Abington, I talked to a mother who her son had not been to school in 6 weeks, even though he never got COVID because he got contact traced so many times that they wouldn't let him go to school for 6 weeks. When I went up to a school board meeting, that mother was trying to tell her story and they wouldn't let her tell her story. Even though he was never sick with COVID ever.
There are a couple of parents fighting up at Abington. They need help. They need people to come and listen to what they're trying to fight for.
Right.
The Abington Heights, that we'll get to that a little later.
Okay. So can I just say this real quick too? So can we all agree in this room, even Dan, that enough studies have come out to say that the mask had little to no effect?
Yes.
Okay, so we can all agree on that.
Well, even at this point, the CDC has come out and said, unless you're wearing an N95, you might as well be wearing nothing.
Yeah. So all the neck gaiters, all the toilet paper looking masks that I find in the streets all the time.
I still see people walking around alone outside with like the paper mask on. I'm like, what are you doing?
I know. I mean, I think I have
an emotional Band-Aid.
I have a different perspective on those people, and I truly feel
awful.
feel bad for them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it almost is like they are psychologically damaged from it.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah,
it's like the adult version of like a binky or like the blanket Linus had from Charlie Brown.
Genuinely, I think the way you said it, like, I feel terrible for these people. Like, who hurt you? Like,
right?
Like your government.
Yeah. I mean, like, you were put into such a place of fear and trepidation that even now, knowing everything that we know, you still can't help but walk out of the house with a mask on.
Now, I will say that, like, if you want to, totally up to you.
Knock yourself out.
Knock yourself out. Don't force people to do it. I think we can all agree on that.
Right.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Nope.
I'm just trying to interject here for a quick story. It's about me.
Hey, remember you said, tell me about Citizens Advisory?
Yeah.
I said, you want the long version or the short?
Yeah, we're still there.
We'll
get there.
Okay.
My sister, whom I love dearly, and
cookies delicious, Dan.
Can I have one, please?
Oh, yeah, no, they're for us. So my sister went to. She wanted to go to the school board meetings because she was concerned about other kids. Because my nephew eventually was going to go to public school. And she was really concerned about the psychological damage that this would do. And she went up there and she did what you and your other parents did down at your school district. We're not going to wear masks. We're going to go in there and we want to speak. And they wouldn't let anybody speak. And then the next day, the newspaper labeled all those parents as domestic terrorists.
Yes.
And that's the Scranton Times. It was the Scranton Times. And that's when I was like, fuck that.
Right.
Because these, at the end of the day, what is these parents' intention? Their intention is not to harm children.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know I have a theory on why these school boards did this, why they stuck to their guns on some things. And you might be able to enlighten me by the end of this, whether or not my tinfoil hat is on properly or I can take it off.
No. I'll help you.
Okay, good. So, all right, moving forward, all those people went to that meeting. The school board adjourned and violated all your rights.
So now I'm like, okay, I gotta write this speech for the Zoom meeting.
Right.
And a buddy of mine, a couple of nights before that, sends me. He goes, you'll love this song. It was Aaron Lewis. Am I the only one?
Oh, dude.
Right. So
yeah,
I'm literally,
me and Micah had a bromance over that song
on a Saturday morning. I'm writing my school board speech for Monday night. This was the Zoom one. I forgot this part of the story.
Yeah,
if I leave it out, my wife won't let me live it down because she comes down on a Saturday morning. And I had been up most of the night because I just can't stand this now because Friday, we're going to school Monday, or Tuesday. It could have been like right after the Labor Day or whatever.
Right.
And I'm downstairs. I'm writing my speech of what I'm going to say. And I got this song my friend sent me 2 days before playing. I've got tears streaming down my face because I'm like, I can't believe no one is standing up around here. And
let's put a pause on that. Can you explain to me what that means? Because I don't think I have a friend who says to me, because I say, what do we do? And he says that people need to rediscover what America means again. So can you tell me, like, in that moment, what did that mean to you?
You mean the
fact that you were so emotionally overwhelmed by it?
Because I watched, and you have to understand something. I had not been to any other school board meetings at this point in time in my life at my school or any others.
Right.
I had no idea that the school district that I was going to was being as limitless as possible that they could be because of this grant that they received at the time. So when I went to talk to them, I had my teeth out, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'll tell you later, like how even the school board members didn't even know about this grant and why we were doing the things we were doing. This is why being a school board member is so important.
Okay.
But what it meant to me is probably one of the biggest regrets I have in my lifetime is not serving in the military. I think it should be a requirement. I truly believe kids need to understand what this country is. I mean, this is what they do in Israel. Every kid is required to serve in the military first, because so they understand the country that they have.
Right.
And I truly think that one of my biggest regrets, my dad was a veteran. But one of my biggest regrets was not getting in the military, and or never serving this country in the military. How I can serve this country moving forward, whether it's at a school board as a school board member or some other capacity, I would do that. But what it really meant to me, things were not that. Just felt like everything was being taken away from our kids. And I have a 15-year-old and a 9-year-old now. They were 13 and 7 then. My daughter didn't even have her first real school year, like real school year, till I would say this year was really like her first normal school year.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was just extremely overwhelmed. I'm writing this and I'm thinking as I'm writing this, does anybody else around here even give a shit?
Yeah.
Because I didn't see it.
Did you feel like a man on an island?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. And so now fast forward, we do the October board meeting, we get thrown out. In November, we go back to the school board meeting again, no masks. They had the meeting that night. Something wasn't clicking with me, and it was between Christmas and New Year's. I started searching the internet. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? What does the government have over our elected officials, our schools? What are they doing? Because this is not normalcy.
Yeah.
There's over 100 now at that point in time, there's over 100 other studies stating that the masks don't work. The contact tracing doesn't work. The social distancing doesn't work. They're all over the place. And why are they only following the CDC study?
Right. Or the cherry-picked CDC study.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct. Because the only way that they can get the money, I found this between Christmas and New Year's, this grant.
So you're talking 2021, between Christmas and New Year's you found this?
Yes.
Okay.
And I started reading it. And in here, the CDC basically is controlling everything that's going on in our school districts. And the only way the school district can continue to get the money is if they follow every CDC guideline. So the guideline.
That's frightening.
Yeah. Yeah. And
did you know that?
I didn't know that specifically, but I've been watching some of the hearings over the past couple of days. And I think just earlier today, I saw somebody, there was a doctor, I believe. I think he was involved with the CDC. He used to be the head of the CDC, maybe.
That's Redfield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he was like, no, we recommended to Fauci in February or March of 2000 this is how we should handle certain things with COVID. And I don't remember specifically what it was. And, or somebody, I can't remember, like two doctors wrote him emails saying, this is how we should handle COVID. This is what's going on. It was the lab leak theory. That's what it was.
Okay.
And they said there was two different doctors. One pretty strongly came right out and said, this has every marker of a man-made virus. The other one said that they have never seen anything mutate into a virus like that naturally in nature. Never. That there's no way that could have jumped from animal to human. It had to come from a virus. And I think within a week, maybe a month, both doctors reversed their decision and they were given $9 million grants from Fauci for their organizations.
These are real things.
Oh,
these are real things that have happened. So all this stuff, all this, but here's,
you remember when we did that whole thing? We met with a bunch of business owners. This was maybe 6 weeks into COVID.
This was end of April 2020.
Yeah, and we called together, kind of like you did, a bunch of business owners. Like, hey, like we got to. This 15 days to flatten the curve has gone on quite some time, and we're all of our businesses are shut down. People are literally going bankrupt. I mean, it's getting bleak out there after 6 weeks, And we got a bunch of businesses together, had this meeting. We put together, I think it was like a 12, 14 page document. It was just data. What percentage of the business owners can make it another
like simple
weeks?
hand raised data, because we're not going to be able to be like,
just of like the 80 businesses that were represented there in the room. And it was like, how much money have you lost? When you do reopen eventually, will you be able to bring back your employees? And it was just data on business. How many weeks, how many days do you have left before you're bankrupt? What's the average loss? Just all that sort of data. And then it was like, maybe it was a 4-page document. It was 12 questions. That's what it was.
No, what we did was we siloed it out to the governor, the Department of Health, our local representatives, our state senators, and all we did was ask questions.
Very specific questions. It was, if it's considered safe for people to line up, 300 people deep and go buy patio furniture at Lowe's, why isn't it considered safe for somebody to go in one person at a time into a small business and shop for Mother's Day?
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, the big
practical shit.
Yeah, the big box stores were open.
Yeah,
I mean,
super simple. And sent it out, and I was contacted by a friend who is connected, and pretty much it was like, listen, I've been told if you don't shut your mouth, you're not getting any of the money that comes, and they will take your salon license. And then, this is all right around the time, and a certain state senator goes on social media and says, if you keep talking about how bad we Democrats are, then we'll stop supporting your businesses, while voting to shut our businesses down. It's like,
yeah,
isn't that crazy?
It's like, this is the world we live in. The elected officials who are there to be public servants for we the people are shutting down our businesses, threatening us, kicking our kids out. It's just, what in the world are we doing? All in the name of safety, when come to find out, they knew all along that everything was going to be fine.
Absolutely, they knew it.
Yeah,
they knew it.
I think like the biggest moment for him and I was, I said to you, do you know the average age of death in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Do you?
77?
79.
Wait,
no, sorry. The average age of death in Pennsylvania in 2019 was 78 and a half.
Okay.
You know what the average age of death in Pennsylvania from COVID is?
79.
79. How are people living on average 6 months longer?
That's right. I did read that somewhere. I was just,
and it's so people, but when you tell people that, it kind of just like glosses in their brain a little bit and then discharges. And I'm like, wait, stop. You need to realize this for a second.
That means what you're hearing.
That means out of all the deaths, everybody above 79 and a half and everyone below, you have to add all those up and then divide by the number. So who is this affecting? We need to, and that was when like the Great Barrington Declaration came out, which was Jay Bhattacharya and I forget his other name, but their whole practical plan was to like, let's protect the people who need protecting and let everyone else live life as normal.
Right.
So getting back to that, how does that handcuff schools?
So although our school district received $2.9 million, they only get X amount of dollars per month. Now the money runs out in 2024. So we're getting monthly installments from the government as long as we follow CDC guidelines still to this day. And the reason,
guidelines that were instilled when?
well, current.
Yeah, no. But I mean, when were these guiguidelines
When did they
put
start?
in place? When did these guidelines start?
When
the CDC guidelines.
When this grant,
which is when?
2021.
Okay.
2021.
Wait, so school districts are still expected to follow the COVID protocol from 2021 if they want to continue receiving money?
Well, in here, it states they have to follow current CDC guidelines.
So it's only when they change.
Yeah, it's only when they change. But
okay.
And the school districts are required to update. This is what I'm looking for here is the health and safety plan. Because every school district.
Jamie, how do you not have this at the ready?
I know, right? Because it's 78 pages. Okay, so on page 19 of this ESSER grant that's on our website, on the highlighted copy, this is when I was reading this is what blew my mind. I'm like, holy smoke, here's the smoking gun. Every school district, in order to get their money, has to have a health and safety plan published on the front page of their website.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it came out of. It came out of this 78-page document. Now, these are the recommendations that the state had for everybody, but everything in here says CDC guidelines, CDC guidelines, CDC guidelines. So this is, and then the school is allowed to tailor make certain things without being too crazy. Like our school was very lenient. Other schools literally, blatantly abused children during this process. This gave them so much power and they used it. Now, whether they were using it because they thought it was safety or whatever, don't give me that shit. When you're responsible for 2,000 children and you only read one study and are only following one set of guidelines, and there's 100 other studies out there disproving the CDC recommendations, you're doing it for money. You're doing it for money.
I guess my question would be like, the government, whoever they are at this level, could just say, this is what you have to follow. Why are they putting money behind it?
Well, again, kind of going back to George's podcast about Pennsylvania being local control, they couldn't control everybody by just saying, you all have to do this right
now. Local control means is like even the Quakers knew that like what's good for Philadelphia might not necessarily be good for rural Pennsylvania.
Correct.
So they wanted to have autonomy for local.
Oh, so local school districts have a lot of
power.
They're supposed to, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That they don't have to abide if they don't want to, because that's how it's written in our state constitution.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is taking the power out of the school board's hands, because now they have money behind it, and the school's already in debt. They don't want to lose resources for the kids. They're getting handed $3 million. Listen, there's cyber schools in Pennsylvania that received over $100 million of COVID relief money.
But are those cyber schools run by public school districts, or are they private?
They're private.
Okay.
So the ones that received a lot of money are private, but there are local schools like our school district. We have our own cyber program to keep our kids in the district, but that doesn't landlock the kids. They're allowed to. Oh gosh, here's another rabbit hole I got to cover with you guys about.
Do you want me to get you some carrots?
Yeah, right. So there's this whole COVID cyber stuff going on too, that both parties are playing a part in. The Democrats and Republicans. I mean, they're puppet masters. We're puppets. There's a uniparty out there, and we got to take it down because they control us, and they control us, which we'll get into that whole thing as well. But when I go back to
just for the people who don't know, when you say uniparty, that's interests have aligned, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not to say that like, I don't think people understand what uniparty means. I think it's getting bandied about in a way where people don't understand. It's if I can understand it in a proper way, and you tell me if I'm wrong, it is the interest party doesn't matter to these people. The interests do. So it's whether it's self-enrichment, financial power, stuff like that. What is power? We can debate what that is. Ultimately, it's about enriching something about either the party or the individual making the rules. Right. So when you say uniparty, it's like, man, I wonder why Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer are agreeing on this. like Tucker Carlson releasing like the January 6th tapes, right?
Yeah, they were all pissed.
Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell were upset about it.
And McCarthy too.
No,
right?
McCarthy was the one like let it go.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, here's all the
fly.
footage. And the crazy thing is when they're like, there's 41,000 hours of footage. Yet most of that is like empty stairwells.
Yeah.
So like it's not like
Well, and at the end of the day, and this is what's so shocking to me, there's people out there that are like, no, don't show it. Why? Just show what happened.
Everyone should see
Just
that.
tell us the truth, what happened.
Yeah.
Because you've got one side telling one story, you got another side telling the other story.
somewhere in the middle is the truth.
Somewhere in the middle is the truth. And the only thing that we have that will actually help us get there as a country, just show the videos. It's not that hard. The
So-
videos don't lie. They just show what they show.
Absolutely.
You know, and
Draw your own conclusion.
Yeah.
Here's what happened.
stop telling people what to think.
Here's
Give them the evidence. Let them make up the conclusion for themselves.
Here's the guy with the horns.
Yeah, that idiot.
Walking between
Yeah.
9 police officers,
Yeah.
and they kind of like,
They are at one
looked at
point. It
him.
looked like they were guiding him into the Senate chamber.
I know.
It's like this, and he's in jail for like almost 5 years.
So Lewis Black, you know Lewis Black, the comedian?
Yeah.
No.
You know him. He used to be like the angry guy, like he does, like you've seen him. So he has this, he just recently did this bit about like the news. He's like, you know, they show you a thing and then they cut to people talking about the thing. And they keep repeating this thing that you didn't see. You're like, that's not what I saw. They're talking about something I didn't see. And by the end of it, you're like, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
So they plant doubt in your head.
Well, Operation Mockingbird is a real thing.
I'm aware.
I mean, it's a real thing. And
Yeah.
if you don't think so, there's no way.
People are going to say we're lunatics for talking about this, but it's real. It's like it's out there.
real.
We're not
Look,
crazy
they
people.
Pretty much just came out like what, maybe a month ago, and it was like, oh yeah, the CIA was definitely involved in killing Kennedy. And just,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
like, you guys do realize, like, people that kind of think like us. I'm assuming you're
We're not.
the same boat.
See, but
I'm not crazy. Like, we're just kind of watching these things happen, being like, oh yeah, like
Yeah,
I know basic ballistics.
2 + 2 =
Yeah.
4.
that's George's
know.
thing. Yeah. So we're discouraging people to be critical thinkers and ask questions,
Yes.
which is incredibly bizarre because you're supposed to ask questions. You know, it's like when you're a little kid. Well, why is the sky blue? Well, because it is. Well, why? You know? Oh, because it reflects the ocean. We're like, that doesn't make any sense. That's insane. People will continue to ask simple questions like that over and over and over
They
again.
do.
And for us to go like, hey, why is Lowe's open but my uncle's hardware store not? And you're
Yeah,
like, don't ask that question.
Why can you
Yeah.
buy carpet from Home Depot and Lowe's, but Giant Floor? I don't know if Giant Floor was. There was another carpet store on Kaiser that wasn't allowed to be open,
They shut down like locally by
Yeah.
us. It was a mom and pop place. They
Yeah.
shut it down.
and they sold the exact same rugs.
You know,
Exact same
and that's where like I come from because like I'm Gen Z or Gen X. Yeah, I'm Gen X,
I think I
right?
might
I
be a
grew up
mil-
on.
I might be a
I grew up
millennial.
on Pearl Jam. We used to always ask questions. There was nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And then it turned into like, don't ask questions. Trust your government. I remember January 2020, everyone was skeptical of the government and everyone's skeptical of the pharmaceutical industry. And now here we
Now
are.
we're worshiping at the altar of the pharmaceutical.
It's
industry.
insane.
Oh.
And I just before,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
and I don't want to cut you off. It's not like my well, it is our show, but like you're the guest. But, right? Look at Dan over there laughing. I forgot what I was going to say. Continue.
You were
We
talking
hate the
about
government. We don't trust the government. We grew up in the 90s.
But here's the thing. I don't hate
Pearl
the
Jam.
government. You
Pearl Jam.
need a government. It just needs to be accountable to the people, and it needs to be effective.
And don't lie to us.
It's not that hard.
Don't
Yeah.
lie to us.
Yeah, just don't lie.
So when I tell you when we were talking about the uniparty, okay, so you have the Democrats, right?
Yeah.
They're pushing the masking, they're pushing the vaccine, they're pushing the social distancing, keep kids out of school, keep them safe, blah 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 blah. On the other side, you have the Republicans, which was a Republican majority in the state legislature in Pennsylvania. I think it's been that way for 17 years, and it just changed this year. Well, if we ever get Fetterman back, it will
I'm
change.
crossing my fingers. I hope
know.
so.
So,
Man, Damon.
but
Wrong. Should I not say that? Should I not say that?
7
Hello, good night.
Oh man.
Can I tell you something funny about that?
Yes.
So people were asking me what my thoughts of the debate were. And I was like, the first answer will let you know how it's going to go. And the first question was, what why are you running for senator? And he said, hello, good night, everybody. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this is, I think, here's what I think. I think what they did to that man, whether you agree with him or not, is cruel and inhumane. I think pushing him, the worst thing that you could do when you've had a stroke is increase stress.
Right.
Worst thing you could do.
Well, now he's in Walter Reed. He's stuck there.
Yeah, but
Like-
he's in there for something else.
Clinical
It's
depression.
all,
Clinical
it's
depression.
all got to
I
be
think it's
linked.
all. I think it's all. I think it's
All
all.
connected.
I think
Yeah.
it's all smoke and mirrors. I think.
Yeah.
I think. Unfortunately, I think he's in a bad place, and I don't. I feel so terrible for what they did to him. I feel so terrible, but that's power.
Yeah.
They want the power, and they'll push him through
So the whole time with the Democrats are pushing all of this
the
stuff.
masking and
Because, I'm not going to come down on Democrats. I'm coming down on them both. The
Yeah,
Republicans.
this isn't a party thing.
The Republicans are sitting there with a majority, the only Republican majority legislature in the United States that had lockdowns, Pennsylvania. Let that sink in. The only Republican majority legislature in the United States that had lockdowns like we had in the schools. Think about it. So they're not
Weird,
doing,
huh?
They're not doing anything to break this. Well, now you have the cyber schools start picking up. CCA, Agora. Am I allowed to say names of
Sure.
them?
Is it real?
Yeah, it's real.
Is it public?
Yeah. So
I don't know why you can't say it's raining out.
Pennsylvania Cyber, Agora, CCA, they all start offering these options of cyber school. Sounds great, right? I don't have to send my kid in. They don't have to wear a mask. They don't have to social distance. They're not going to get contact traced, thrown out of school and all this stuff. So now you have the Republicans not doing anything about the lockdowns, and you have the Democrats that keep pushing in, right? Pushing more and more and more safety in the name of safety. How safe do you have to be before you lose all your freedom?
Right.
So the whole thing comes down to these cyber schools go through the roof in Pennsylvania. The Republicans start talking about school choice. Ask a Republican running for office what they mean by school choice. You will not get a definition.
Or is everybody has a different one?
You
just won't get one at all?
You won't get a stance. Well, school choice. Kids can, the money follows the kid, they'll say. The money follows the kid. Yeah, the money will follow the kid as long as they go to a cyber school because they're getting funded by donors that are in the cyber school business. Both sides.
So the politicians are being funded by the donors who are in the cyber school business.
Both sides.
Okay.
And so it's a collapse of the public school system for money. That's what's happening. So as I'm going through this grant and I'm looking through, and listen, I used to defend one party more than the other. Okay. I'm quickly learning in the last 2 years that we got a fight on our hands, and it isn't one party or the other. It's both of them. And as I'm going through this ESSER grant, I start meeting people. I meet Ben Herring, who's our vice president from Pittston area. I meet Amy Carrazza from Wyoming Valley West. She's our second vice president. I meet Mike from Hanover. He's our treasurer. I meet Nicole from Dallas. She's our secretary. And we formed Citizens Advisory Nonprofit. Finally got to your answer.
Thank you.
In April of 2022. Then we decided to file for our 501c3, which was just approved in December. So we're now full.
Congrats. It takes a while to get that. It's a pain in the ass.
It is a pain in the ass, especially during COVID times when things are
Nobody's working in government.
No one's working in government, but they're still getting a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, we kept meeting every month. Our small group, like we kept meeting. George was part of it. The other 5 people that I just mentioned were part of it. And there was another 5 to 10 people. We just kept meeting every month. Hey, we're going to get organized. We need to fight back. This assault on our children is not going to stop. So Citizens Advisory was pretty much born in April of 2022, with our 501c3 being approved in December, just a few months ago. So now we're in a fundraising world because we've had things happen to us at school board meetings. George, some of the things that George talked to you guys about as far as being wanted in security at school board meetings, but there's a basketball game going on 100 feet down with 10 times as many people. No one's getting wanted.
I mean, the irony of that, or I guess the failure of the argument of that is, like, if it was really about protecting people, wouldn't it be about protecting the most people?
I would think so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like you wand them into a school board meeting. Like, I don't think it really sinks in with people when you're like, they're getting wanted to go into a school board meeting, but they're not getting wanted to go into a place where there's hundreds of people.
Right.
Like, there seems to be, like, it should be the other way around if you're really concerned about people's safety, or both. Do it for both.
Yeah, and they're trying to chill the public and keep them out of school board meetings. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious. Down at Pittston.
So you think that there's an active effort to keep parents out of school board meetings by who or what?
At Tunkhannock there is by the school board and the school.
There's no doubt in your mind.
There's no doubt in my mind. Do you
think they're trying to do something nefarious and they don't want the parents getting in the way?
Or do they not want the scrutiny?
So in order for a school district to have you go through security and wand you, they have to have a threat, and they have
like an actual threat, not like out of thin air threat,
not that
a specific threat.
Yeah, not that the president of the school board or any school board member or the solicitor has a beef with one of the parents. So make it harder for them to come take their rights away in order for them to come in and redress their government. That's what's happening out of Tunkhannock. At Pittston, they were starting to ask for identification before you would go into a school board meeting to show your ID.
Oh yeah, but to vote, that's racist.
You're right. It is.
That's weird, isn't it?
It is. And so they're doing all these things to chill. Now, none of that ever happened at my school board meetings. I can tell you it's happening in Hanover, where they're making it more difficult, putting security measures in because these parents are, what did you call them earlier? Domestic terrorists.
I didn't.
No. The newspaper did.
Somebody said it.
Yeah,
the newspaper did.
The Scranton Times-Tribune did.
Yeah.
Shame on them. Shame on them.
So, well, that came right out of the mouth of Merrick Garland too.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have anything. Scranton Tribune, you said?
Times-Tribune.
Times Tribune. They don't have any ideas. They just take what they hear from these goons and put it in their paper. But so as all this is going on, our organization starts growing. We create a website. We create a Facebook page. People can go to our website. I'm as far as like the documents that you want, but one of the really cool things on our website that you can do, let's say you're a teacher in a school district. Let's say you're an administrator. You don't want to lose your job, right? But you can't go stand up at a school board meeting because they got your job hanging over your head.
Right.
Even though if somebody stood up at a school board meeting and they were fired shortly after, you'd have a retaliation lawsuit on them in a heartbeat, especially if you did nothing wrong to be fired or let go. But that's how people think.
Right.
They have a house payment. They have a car payment. They have kids they're raising. They have, expenses. They don't want to lose their job because, I'll just let it go this time.
Yeah, I stood on my integrity to make sure my kid couldn't eat.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can go to our website and you can file a citizen's report, and you can just write in there that you want to remain anonymous, and we will do the investigation for you. That's what we do. We have 7 different committees that when a report comes into our website, that the first committee that gets it is the research committee, and the research committee will take your complaint from your school district, and they'll immediately say, okay, have we dealt with any cases like this yet so far? Then if we have, you see, because we're building a database, because once we fight all of these things on all these different battlefields, the answers to the test are all the same. But there's a huge effort to get that rock up the top of the mountain. And that's what we're doing now. We're taking any complaint that comes in, and we're the research committee gets it. Then our next committee will file like right to knows. If we need to file a right to know, we need information.
So the research committee says, is there validity to this? Let's look into it a little bit. And then it's the actionable items.
Then it'll go down. Yeah, it goes down to the next committee. They'll file any RTKs or anything that we need to know from the school district. And then it goes to our law and strategy and policy committee. And we see what laws they broke, what policies they broke. Because these school districts, they're breaking their own policies every single day.
Do you remember George was telling about that? Where he's like, the first 5 they broke for this one kid he was telling us about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because like all of this started, like, I mean, we started all of this out of COVID times and some of that craziness, you know, and you and George, it's wild to me because the conversation started from, masks or, contact tracing. Your kids keep getting bumped out of school every week. Now the conversation isn't over, do the efficacy of masks.
Right.
That was the argument back in the day. I mean, I read the reports pretty early on. Like these cloth masks don't work. You knew the COVID droplets, they knew the size, they knew what would work. Only the N95s work. People were saying that from about 2 months in. That's when I first saw it. And then all of a sudden it's like, wear 2 masks. What? Like, this is just dumb.
Remember when Fauci showed up on screen with 2 masks on?
And it's like, so we went from there. But that's really not the conversation anymore. We're not going to relitigate masks or decisions that were made 2 years ago. We've all moved on from that. Now, here's what all of that did. It created a world where people like you and me and him and other people are like, hold on. The government's just blatantly violating the law. Like these school boards are just blatantly violating the law. Like for me, and I have to be careful, because like I own
do.
Yeah. I own business that gets inspected and has licenses and all these things. And I'm like, I'm reading the Pennsylvania State Bill of Rights. They're not allowed to come in and inspect me. It says it right there. I mean, it's like.
But we acquiesce because we were told they're going to come in and do an inspection.
Like the government is not allowed to come in, inspect me, and shut down my business. It's against the law. How did we get here?
Can you what has your family been through?
My family
forget about like retribution, the politics of it. Like, what has it been like for your family? Personally,
it's a lot. Actually, I said to my wife when this started, I said, when I get involved in something, I don't stop until I'm finished.
Right.
And I said, I need you to be with me for 2 years. I need you to bear with me for 2 years. And that's what it's going to take to get this organization up and running, getting it clicking. I have a background in business, so I kind of knew 24 months is really where you hit that stride, that big stride at 24 months is when because a lot of the upfront stuff is the organization, the website. But now we have a place where a single dad works all day, driving their kid around. They don't have time to go fight. So they just do it. They just get along. They just go along with whatever.
Just trying to get through the day.
Right. And we built something now that people have a place to go. There's nothing like us in Pennsylvania. There's tons of Facebook pages and stuff like that. People just complain and bitch and piss and moan. We are an action-oriented organization, and that's what differentiates us. We are going to hold every elected. It started with schools. We are now in the Luzerne County, and we are holding their feet to the fire as well. It all starts with how they run their meetings. Are they running their meetings legally? Because if they aren't holding their meetings legally, and we can't have a true dialogue at a school board meeting or a county council meeting or wherever, the speech gets cut off, the communication stops. Communication is so important. Communication is the one thing.
I'm just going to adjust you there.
That's fine.
That's okay.
Communication is the one thing that will break a business. It'll break a family. It'll break a church.
The lack of
communication.
Oh, I have a great quote about this.
Go ahead.
99% of the world's problems come from the frustration of unmet expectations that are never communicated.
I like that. Did you? Is that your quote?
I mean, somebody else might have said it before. I'd never heard it, but yeah.
I like that.
99% of the world's problems come from the frustration of unmet expectations that are never communicated. So my wife and I are having an issue, okay? Whether it be how I think we should discipline a kid, how we should spend money, what our sex life looks like, just whatever.
Yeah.
You really had to get that one in there.
I had to really get that one in there. Oh, I've taken a couple digs.
Oh, by the way, I'm Mike. I have sex.
Today.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's okay. She doesn't watch. Carry on.
Yeah, she doesn't watch. She thinks we're idiots. But like, if you have an expectation, like if I have an expectation about how my wife is going to spend money and she doesn't, now I'm pissed off.
Right.
And over weeks, it grows. And she, and it's like, where'd you get this new pair of shoes? Where'd you get this new bag? Where'd you get this new shirt? Like, what is happening? And I never once have that conversation. The resentment and all that's going to build up and build up and build up inside of me. But if she and I have conversations like, hey, like finances are a little tight, what do you need to be happy monthly to spend on whatever, and we're good.
Right.
Now we're on the same page, for us as business owners, we have employees. Okay. As a boss, it's my job to communicate my expectations. If I don't, and they don't fulfill them, I don't get to get mad. I haven't communicated that, it's no different in every relationship. You have to communicate expectations.
Why? So, I mean, that brings up a good point. Like, why is it that the people, because here's the thing, if you go out and vote for someone, right? In essence, what you're doing is like, how they say like your real friends will help you move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, we might have to help Alexis get that couch out of her apartment.
We'll just light it on fire. I don't know what we're talking about. For someone to go out, like for a pot, let's say somebody who ran for office, right? Let's say they get 100 votes. There's 100 people that went out and voted for you, and you have no gratitude for that. You're not communicating with them. You're like, oh, thanks for the job. And I don't know why politicians or elected officials don't take a greater interest in communicating with their constituents or the voters that voted for them. I don't, like, just based on what you're saying, like, so what is going on here? We're either we're not, or are we acquiescing? Are we not asking questions? Is there too much shit on our plates that we don't have time to ask the questions or have a dialogue? Or are they told not to have a dialogue with their constituents or their voters? Like, what do you think is going on? I mean, minus like the uniparty tinfoil hat thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how a human being can be like, thank you for electing me. I'm never going to address your issues now.
I think we've stopped. I think our world is so busy now. And when we're not busy, we're on social media, we're on our phones, we're doing something. When we're not busy, there's not much downtime anymore. In the digital world that we live in, there's not much downtime. And I think that has really taken people out, like, out of asking questions. Like, you voted for this. Like, I see your vote here. Don't tell me you didn't vote for this, because you did. I also look back, and this is actually something really interesting, which about 40 years ago, there was this big women's liberation movement. Okay. Prior to the women's liberation movement, there was typically one person that worked outside the home, and then there was one person that worked at home. Whether it was the man or woman, whatever, it was typically a one income household.
Mm-hmm.
But when this women's liberation movement started, stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads were looked down on almost. They were like, oh, well, you know, she don't have a career, or he don't have a career. He just stays home with the kids. Believe me, stay home with my kids for like a week and then tell me the kind of work that it takes.
It's not easy.
So
I don't know your kids personally. I'm just assuming that like to
They're
be a
great
stay-at-home
kids.
parent, it's not easy.
No.
Yeah.
And that typically that parent that was the home parent was the ones that were at the PTA meetings. They were at the school board meetings, keeping them in check. And then if you look around the 1980s, early 80s, there was this huge influx of double income families in the United States. And that's when things stopped getting looked at. We just didn't pay attention. Not that they weren't important, but they weren't more important than putting food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing you want to do, believe me, which is kind of getting back to what you asked me, like, how has this been on my family? It's been hard. It's been really hard. I'm at meetings typically 3 nights a week. My wife and I bowl on Wednesday nights. That's our bowling night.
You can invite me one time. I'll go with you.
I think I talked to you on my way to
You're
bowling.
like, I'm going bowling. I want to do the show. I'll talk to you later. I was like, okay.
So, but that's like literally our only night of the week that we're together. My son works at the bowling alley, so that's kind of cool. He started that during COVID because it's the only place it wouldn't get contact traced out of. So touching a bunch of dirty bowling balls every night, that's fine, but can't go to school and sit 6 feet apart. But he started there at 14. He's an amazing young man. Absolutely incredible young man. And it's been really, the load's getting heavy, really heavy. In January 30th, we hired our first full-time employee at Citizens Advisory.
Like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah. Her name is Jess Stahlnecker. She's from Crestwood Area School District. She's a teacher for 18 years. So she knows the school, like she really understands the school side, and she's very, very territorial over her children. So like what a perfect mix, right?
Right.
I'm very passionate about what we're doing. And that has really taken a lot of the load off.
The burden.
Yeah. But every day, like, I mean, she's got a 40+ hour job a week. Like literally, that's how much stuff we're
just
dealing
doing
with.
Citizens Advisory.
Just doing Citizens Advisory. That's how much stuff is going on. I'd love to have her come on one day and kind of tell you what she does every day, because the stuff that's going on in school districts right now, you would not even I would sit here and tell you and you'd be like, bullshit. There's no way that's happening.
Well,
I can tell you.
Tell us like your top
Jamie.
3.
Okay.
The top 3 that
wait,
seem
hold on,
like the
hold on.
most-
Right before you do that,
Oh,
let's do some smelling salts to wake up and make sure we
gosh.
digest this.
Why
as
are we
much.
doing this again?
Because I loved your face on it the last show.
By the way, I went to your website while you were talking there for a little bit. It's so simple. To do, like, it's all right there. Our mission, need for engagement, submit an incident, donate. That's it. Super simple on that homepage.
Thank you.
It's
you wanna-
really, really well done.
Yeah.
Here, hold on. Dan's sniffing.
Ooh, that was too much. Too much.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm looking here, like your board. Obviously, you're there. Oh, this is great. It tells like the school district.
Text that to Dan so we can pull it up in a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So when I asked about your family, right,
Mm-hmm.
there's collateral damage for being an advocate. People are going to be upset with you.
Yes.
And it seems like during the COVID years that it became very apparent that it wasn't multiple lines in the sand. It was one line, and one group got on one side and one group got on the other. How has it been? When I say personally, I'm like, is there any fallout from like friends, family members, parents you were friends with, teachers, retribution, anything that has affected you negatively?
I would say no.
So you have like total support.
when all of this started and I was standing up at the school board meetings, there was actually parents that made a petition about me. 100 people signed a petition, and the petition said, Jamie Walsh doesn't speak for me.
That was it.
That was their petition. And I got up at that school board meeting and I said, I don't even know who's on that list, but I never said I speak for anyone.
You speak for you and your family.
Correct.
That's it.
So, I'm sure that there's people that dislike me for what I'm doing, but I'm doing it for the right reasons. If they would sit down with me and talk and just gain a little bit of knowledge about what is truly happening, like this grant is what started the division in our community, not Jamie Walsh. Jamie Walsh just happened to find it and expose it.
So, we don't have to pull that up right now, Dan.
All right, well, it's there.
Well, yeah, but now
So
it just
I-
changed all the lighting in here. So you just made it infinitely brighter.
So tell us one of the crazy things that we wouldn't like.
Well, tell me some of the
"What?"
stuff that's in that.
Some of the things that are in here.
So, okay, I might know of one thing. Can I bring it up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about the mental health.
Okay, so the mental.
So for people who don't know, can you give us a baseline for the mental health criteria and then something new that they're trying to implement?
Yeah, so mental health is extremely important.
Especially during COVID with the kids.
Extremely important.
Crush them. Yeah.
And the problem with the way that they're addressing it is through apps. So
Like phone apps?
okay, I'll tell you right now, Hazleton area, Wilkes-Barre area. I'm only talking Luzerne County.
That's what you know. Talk what you know.
I know them more. I know them better than I know a lot of other school districts around here. Wilkes-Barre area, Wyoming Valley West, Crestwood had it for a while. We stopped it there.
An app.
Yeah. I say Hazleton area.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah.
Hazleton area. So there's like 13 school districts in Luzerne County. Those 4 have an app called Rhythm.
The same app.
The same app,
Which means that they paid for it.
which means it is paid for, but in this grant, 20% had to be used for certain things. Like a certain percentage of the money had to be used for certain categories, which we can talk about that again. But specifically when it comes to mental health, every child, when they log into their Chromebook, now every school district's a little different. Like Hazleton started it in 3rd, 7th, and 9th grade. Okay. So a kid opens their Chromebook. I actually have a list of the questions. You want me to read them to you for a 3rd grader?
Yes.
Oh, this is great. Oh,
These are the
Oh,
questions
boy.
that the app asks a 3rd grader.
every morning.
Every
Oh,
morning?
every morning.
Every morning.
Oh, this is gonna be.
Wait. So every day they log in and they get asked questions. They get asked. Are they obligated to fill them out?
Yeah, or they can't log in to do their work.
Are you shitting me?
I swear to God.
All right, let's hear these questions.
3rd grader would be 8 years old, 9 years old.
My daughter's in 3rd grade. She's 9.
Okay.
It's not at Lake Lehman, so that's a good thing.
So basically, for those that don't know, you have to answer these questions like you would the Face ID for an iPhone or the thumbprint for like another phone.
In order to be able to
do your day's work.
Yes.
Okay, you're gonna.
And if they're home, like for a homeschool day, like a snow day, or they call them FID days now, flexible instruction days.
Oh, why do they keep coming up with these names for shit?
Because
It's a snow day.
the kids can't have snow days anymore. They got to work.
Okay.
They got to work when they're home. It's bullshit.
Don't even get me on these snow days either.
yeah.
All they do is they log in for like a half an hour and the teachers show up and they're like, oh, do this worksheet. Check back at 1 if you need help. And then they're gone.
And then the
like,
teacher
that's
goes
it.
and watches Stranger Things for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Danny, do you have kids?
I do have 2 children,
Where-
one in 2nd grade and one in 4th grade.
Okay.
And Micah has 2 children, but one of them's not out of the high school system. He's graduated,
Oh, okay.
but he
he's in
still has a
college.
daughter in high school though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
These are the questions that are
these-
asked to 3rd graders.
every morning,
9 years old.
Okay,
every single morning,
5 days a week,
5 days a week, and if they're
52 weeks a year. Well, not 52 weeks a year, whatever, 180, whatever.
180 days.
I tried to be smart, failed.
Yeah.
What does it feel like inside your head today?
What?
Okay. And is this like, do they have to write an answer? Is it like multiple choice?
Your eyes are welling up, and mine are too.
I'm not happy about this.
This is.
How do they
What's it
answer
like
that
inside
question?
your head today?
So the only way a kid can,
Is it multiple choice?
No. The only way the kid can answer these questions is with emojis. A happy face, a sad face,
Oh, sweet Jesus.
an angry face. All emoji. You can't type any words into it. Number 2, what does it feel like in your body today?
And somebody puts an avocado? Like, I don't understand how this helps children.
I'll tell you how they think it's helping children.
Okay, keep going, Jamie. This is like Chinese water torture.
How much energy do you have? Number 4, how is your social life? How is your social life? Who has a third grader? You have a second grader.
Second grader,
Does
yeah.
your second grader know what a social life is?
He kind of has an idea. I think he has friends, but the whole concept of it, like, no.
Right. Like if you went home tonight and said, son, how is your social life?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Dirty Mike, Dirty Mike and the boys are going for cocktails Friday. Yeah. He's not, your third grader is not going to say that.
And then number 5 is, what do your emotions look like today?
So is this for kids that who has to do this?
All of them.
Everybody?
3rd, 7th, and 9th grade at Hazelton area.
But every kid has to do this.
Every kid has to do this, but we have an opt-out form on our website. It's free. You just go to the documents section on our website.
Why?
And so now
This is fucking crazy.
Like, I understand if there's a kid that's like, hey, I need somebody who can kind of check in with me every now and then. Because with COVID, I'm feeling kind of funky. All right, we got this app. And if you just boom, hey, I'll shoot you a text. Like, okay, that great. You have a school counselor who's like, hey, Johnny is like, man, my social life sucks at 9 years old. Let me check in. Okay, great. But to make every kid do this, what you are doing is you are creating a generation of people that look at themselves as broken.
correct.
Do you know what else I see?
Like, it's just cruel.
I see data.
Big time.
That's what I see.
Big time data.
They're getting data on these kids every day.
They're building a psychological profile, and they say Rhythm says it's anonymous. It's anonymous.
Yeah,
And it is anonymous. But if they
just
know,
because they say it's
if
anonymous,
they know, yeah, but they know data on the human being. They have to. You have to at least have some sort of profile
you don't.
on the app.
No, like
Yeah, you would have to, wouldn't you?
but here's you put your name in. They know who Johnny is. They know how Johnny has felt for 180 days.
Right.
And that 180 days is now a profile for that kid moving forward. Do you understand?
To log into your Chromebook too, like, so my kid has one, and you have to have your like student email. So to get into it, it's like whatever name at ahsd.org. So that's his. So right off the bat, you're going into your profile, and then I'm guessing it pops up with saying, "How are you feeling today? What's your life problems? Are you emotionally stable?"
On your kid's computer to do school every day?
Well, no, they're not, but I'm guessing that's probably so you have to log in. It's under like your own profile. So it's already there under that Chromebook. So if that's going somewhere, it's going to kind of cycle back to that.
Dan the man at AOL.com.
I mean, that's frightening.
Yeah, and it's linked to
I didn't know. This is the first time I'm hearing of this. I had no idea that this was happening.
it's linked to your child's student ID that follows them through their entire school life.
See, I think this is under the guise of help, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. So, then at the end, so I had this one mom up in Hazelton that I was talking to. The reason I keep talking about Hazelton is the one that I'm most familiar with, because we actually, Citizens Advisory and a mom that's in our organization just forced, by the way, we had to force the superintendent, because it was, all of this is being done without the parents' knowledge.
Oh, they don't know.
They never notify the parents.
Do they? They're obligated, aren't they?
in the state of Pennsylvania at 14 years old, I think it's Senate Bill 856. At 14 years old, if your child needs mental health treatment, they can get that. They can get mental health treatment on their own. And the school district cannot communicate. It's HIPAA. They can't communicate that your 14-year-old.
It's a violation of your health rights, your health privacy rights.
Yeah. So at 14, no, they don't have to tell you. They don't have to tell you that they're doing mental health assessments on your children well, I shouldn't say that. If your child is getting mental health treatment, then they don't have to communicate that back to the parent at 14 years of age or older. They're actually trying to amend that bill to include vaccines in it now as well.
At 14 years old, you don't have to tell your parents that you're going to get a vaccine.
Right. And this is why I want to talk to your sister.
Wait, what?
When do we start letting 14-year-olds make decisions?
Yeah.
About anything?
I know what kind of decisions I was making at 14.
I know it's
I made yesterday,
and they were terrible.
They're dumb.
They were terrible ideas.
But I mean, at 14, I can only speak as a guy. At 14, we were all dumb as a pile of bricks.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you can only speak as a guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
we'll fix that.
We'll see how the rest of the week goes. But it's like they're children. You're not allowed to make medical decisions at 14. I'm sorry, you're just not. You're not allowed to get a tattoo. You're not allowed to vote. You're not allowed to do a lot of things.
It's permanent.
Correct.
You're allowed to make permanent decisions at 14.
This is where all of the gender reassignment surgeries are coming in without the parents' knowledge. The kids are taking hormone blockers because the parents have no idea they're doing it. The school's not allowed to communicate it to them. It's very, very dangerous.
So people that are children that are not considered adults, they can't vote, they can't get a mortgage, they can't get a loan. They're allowed to make decisions that will impact them till the day they die.
Yes.
And no one is telling the legal guardians, is the parents, the ones who love them the most, are not being told this stuff.
No.
Tell me why this isn't broken.
Why it hasn't been all over the news?
No. I mean, it's it was basically rhetorical. You know what I mean? This is awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
And they're trying to piggyback off of that legislation.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, Danny, I don't know if you can look up. I think it's PA Senate Bill 856, if my memory serves me right. But they're trying to piggyback off of the mental health bill to include vaccines in that right now. It's actually in legislation as we speak.
This should never be in legislation.
No. So now where Hazleton really screwed up, the parents at Hazleton have a major lawsuit at their fingertips because they did it in third grade without the knowledge of the.
Is this the bill? No, that's 1970.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
scroll that back over. I'm sorry.
If the law states, looks like
it might be the first one. Yeah, that's the one. That might be the one right there.
Check that.
Yeah, so the law states under 14 they don't have to communicate with parents, and they were doing it with 9-year-olds.
Right.
The long, short version of it.
Right.
Age of consent for vaccines memo. Click that.
There you go.
Click that right in the middle. No, one down. There you go. All right. In the near future, I'll be introducing legislation to allow people age 14 or over to consent to CDC recommended immunization as long as that consent is knowing and voluntary. Parents or guardians will not be able to override a minor's consent for vaccination if the minor is age 14 or over. Oh my God.
Who wrote this?
Senator Amanda Capoletti. This is from May 4th, 2021.
Right. So now
Jesus.
Pennsylvania law already allows minors age 14 and over to consent to inpatient mental health treatment. This bill will largely mirror the mental health law to allow minors 14 and over to consent to CDC recommended immunization. This seems like a Trojan horse.
That is okay. Listen, the app is one thing. Okay, I get it. It's weird. I don't like it.
I didn't finish the app yet, but go ahead. You're not going to like the next part.
This is monstrous.
Oh, totally.
You are not going to inject my kid with something without my permission. End of conversation.
When
my kids are 18, they want to go do whatever. Okay.
Dan, keep that there. In 2018, the United States saw the second highest rate of measles cases since the disease was eliminated in 2000. In Pennsylvania, there were over 12,500 students in school whose parents opted out of the vaccinations required by the Pennsylvania Department of Health. Many of these students may want to be vaccinated, but have no way of doing so without parental or guardian consent under Pennsylvania law. So here's the thing that I want to just let everybody know. In 2018, in the last few years, there was measles outbreaks. Do you remember these?
I don't really recall.
There was one in New York. There was one, I believe, in New Jersey.
Okay.
But what they found out is that the measles outbreak is because there's two types of measles vaccines. One of them is an aerosol. The other one is an actual injection vaccine. The aerosol is basically a live attenuated virus, which means it's like a really subdued version, but it's live of measles.
Okay.
The measles vaccines were happening amongst the vaccinated kids for measles, or the measles outbreak. So they were getting the aerosol vaccine and getting measles and transmitting measles to other people.
And that's why the outbreak happened.
And that's why the outbreak happened. It wasn't natural. It was due to the vaccinations.
I had no idea about that.
That is real. Look it up. Look it up.
Yeah, Google it, man.
God damn it. That is terrifying. That children are now allowed.
They're not allowed yet. But
they're allowed. So the mental health thing is allowed.
Yeah.
And so they're going to piggyback. The mental health thing is the Trojan horse to get them into vaccine. To what value?
Right.
Like to what? To how?
I have a theory. You're not going to like it.
Tinfoil hat.
No, I have a theory on all of this. Because as soon as you start saying that 14-year-olds can make decisions about what they do or don't do with their bodies, now the age of consent is no longer 18. That's the end goal, in my opinion.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
That's even
in my
scarier.
opinion, that's the end goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we postulate on that, do you want to?
There's my big tinfoil conspiracy theory hat.
Do you want to continue with the app?
Yeah, I want to hear more about the app.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's like masochism right now.
So this mom up at Hazleton area, her daughter's home one day for a snow day in December or whatever. And
this is like 4 months ago, 5 months ago?
Just a few months ago. And really the first mom in our area that actually saw her child, that reached out to us. I'm not saying it's the first one that ever saw it. I'm just saying the first one that spoke to us about it. Her child logged on to the Chromebook and saw this. She saw these questions, right? And her daughter, she said to her daughter, answer these questions in front of me. I want to see what happens here. So she answers everything completely positive. Completely positive.
I feel great. Everything's going well.
Yep. My social life is fantastic.
Not a complaint in the world. I'm actually happy.
Yeah. At the end, when it's over, a video starts playing.
What?
If you're sad, there's people that you can talk to. You can go talk to your teacher. You can go talk to the principal. You cannot talk. Well, it didn't say you cannot talk to your parents, but the specificity was talk to your principal, talk to your teacher, talk to your guidance counselor. The focus was on the school is going to solve all of your problems. Now imagine a third grader answers everything perfectly, but then watches a sad video at the end of it 180 days a year.
Do they have to make it through this video to continue doing their?
Oh yeah, this is how they log in,
dude,
to their Chromebook.
Dude, did you know this?
No.
Is all this crazy?
I gotta ask my kids if they had to do it.
You know what? I was at a meeting. I won't say where last Monday night, and there were some Wilkes-Barre parents there.
Say where? No, don't.
And there were some Wilkes-Barre parents there, and I told them what's going on, and they're like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
This is like a few days ago.
This is just a few days ago.
Yeah.
My phone rings Tuesday morning. Holy shit, man. I asked my daughter I asked her to pull her Chromebook up and she's doing it every day. I'm like, I told you. So
how do we get
I'm going to text my kids right now.
How do we get the video? I want to watch that video.
Oh, the great thing is Hazleton area, because of this parent who's part of our organization, because of this parent, the superintendent had to send a letter out. I have the email that I can send to you guys, that he sent a letter out to all the parents talking about how they just want safety and this and that, basically backtracking all of the illegal activity that the school district's been doing on third graders since the beginning of the school year. But this is the third meeting that we had to go to finally get them to take action and stop this garbage on these kids.
Which means 3 months, at least 3 months.
Yeah, 3 months.
So 20, 40, 60, they've seen that video 60, 70 times since then.
Right. Seeing sad videos every day.
Yeah.
You know?
And so in the world of politics and advertising and blah, 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 it's like you tell them 3 times and they start to believe it.
Correct.
Now, how many times have these kids watched this video?
And it takes 90 days to create a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And
They're already there.
They're there.
Well, and that's my issue with it, is not so much that, like, if there's a kid that needs help and they ask for help and the parents are like, absolutely, I would love to have a guidance counselor, and they in the morning can do whatever. Okay, fine. If it's voluntary and it's a kid that, because of COVID shutdowns, it's like, okay, fine. What you are doing by having kids go through this process is you are creating a mentality of victimhood. You're creating a mentality of, if they keep asking me every day if something's broken, maybe something's broken. And that's what you're putting on these kids. Like, it's just, there's no value. Yeah, there's no value to the modern American school system to a free thinker. They're trying to get people to stop thinking for themselves and to be slaves to the system.
Correct. Now, I don't know if you guys...
Maybe I will run for school board.
It's too late.
Oh, no.
We asked you all weekend, man.
Wait, did you make an official announcement?
I have not. There's been nothing official. I'm waiting till I think it's the 15th or something, because that's when like all the petitions and everything. It's like you file your petitions and then they give you like a week to be like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting till
you have an opt-out period.
Yeah, I have an opt-out period, and I'm just I know they're gonna come at me.
So you're officially not officially announcing.
I'm running. I don't know what's gonna happen, win, lose, or draw.
And that's at what school board?
Scranton.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
So
it's gonna go really well.
So my concern is like, a lot of, like you said before, a lot of parents don't have the time, right? So they hear what they hear, and then they believe what they hear. They don't think that, like, what we're saying is true. Like those parents on Monday, they didn't believe that was happening, and then they logged in the next day and they believed it. Like, I think,
and Wilkes-Barre area is the only school district in Luzerne County that we're not in. Guess where I'm going Monday night?
Oh, good.
Wilkes-Barre area. So I cannot wait. Like, I'm giddy over this shit. I can't wait.
I'm not.
Oh,
I'm giddy for you, but I'm not. I don't like.
But you know what? Listen, I was scared at first too. I was intimidated because I was uneducated on what's going on. I got their damn playbook, and this is where. So the Rhythm app will be the guideline that they use to tier your children into tier 1, 2, or 3 of mental health.
Oh, good.
So
do you know what this is? Listen to this.
This is by the way, the ESSER grant came out in July of 2021. This beauty came out in August of 2021. I found this later as I was looking around. This is where they will tier. I brought a copy for you too, because you're running for school board. You need to know this shit, because this is what they're doing.
We're going to have so much fun going to school board meetings.
You need to explain this to Mike and Dan.
So they basically want to tier your children, every child in Pennsylvania, into 3 different tiers of mental health, whether it's severe or whether it's mild, but every kid's a little effed up is what they're getting at.
Yeah, every human being is. Yeah.
So everybody
I still have not met the traumaless person.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody's effed up. Here's what we have for you. We're going to tier your children in tiers of mental health. Well,
explain to him what tiers are. Like, so explain what's it, 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so, what does that mean?
So it's basically mild to severe. So
it's not saying nowhere on that scale is there joyful.
No.
Okay, so you're getting like terrible, more terrible, most terrible.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, so you guys will not believe how this all ties together in the end, because it's like a storybook right now. And I'm so glad I have all the answers, because I'm actually calm talking about this, because nobody can get this shit past me. So this is launched, right? This practical guidance, and this is also on our website under documents. Right at the top, there's a tab. You click on it and you can go down. I also found the guidebook for superintendents that's on this ESSER grant. They actually also have a 40-page guidebook to teach superintendents how to slip this shit into the schools. So I actually have their game plan too. It's on the website. So now, so going back to this now, let me ask you guys a question.
Finally, the tables are turned, Dan.
And I don't know. Again, I don't know if you're first, Second Amendment guys or not.
I think you're safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one is that one?
I think that's the one that if the first one doesn't work out.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
So the Second Amendment, if you're diagnosed with mental health disorder, question number, I believe it's 5 or 6 on the application to own a firearm in Pennsylvania or federally.
Diagnosed with the mental health. Yeah.
It asks you, have you ever been diagnosed with a mental health condition? Well, they have your profile through school that you are now diagnosed with a tiered mental health condition. All right. So let's say you're not a Second Amendment person.
Where else would that question be asked? Like, I mean,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, at first I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I see where you're going there. Hold on. What other things can you not do if you've been diagnosed with a mental health condition?
Life insurance.
Yeah, there's a lot when you really stop and think about it.
Jobs.
Yeah.
You can't be a police officer.
Yeah.
You can't serve in the military because you can't handle a firearm.
Yeah.
So they're tiering an entire generation of children with mental health conditions in Pennsylvania. I would say they kind of end around taking our Second Amendment rights away from our children. Now, I've opted my kids out of all this shit. This is on our website. It's an opt-out form. Fill it out, send it in to your school. And if they deny you, you tell them this isn't a question. Every law is on here that supports your opt-out, whether it's a religious reason or whatever. It's all on here. So now I'm like, okay, now they're going to tier all these kids. So I'm telling my school board.
Is this implemented?
This is, yeah. Oh, yeah. Abington Heights is full bore with this program right now.
Do parents know?
And I got one mom up there fighting for her life for Abington Heights children, and she stands there alone every month. Alone. Her husband comes like when he can, but they have kids too, so they can't always. Stands there alone, 5'4", fighting for every child there alone, as the superintendent just steamrolls her, lets her speak for her 3 minutes, then she sits down, and then next month she comes back, and this woman is a powerhouse and has all of this knowledge, and she can't get a man in the community to stand up next to her. So,
should I move to Abington too and run for that?
Look, I'm kind of busy, guys. I'm sorry.
Isn't that your school district?
It is.
Is that?
Yeah.
Well, Daniel.
Well, this comes back to what he says, that like I'm a very, very busy person, and I would love to go and I'd love to put my time and effort into it, but like
it's tough.
It hurts that I can't do this, and I would love to, but like it is really hard.
Well, guess what, Dan?
And that's why I'm trying to support other people in the ways I can.
I would say your kids are going to be a level 2 and 3.
Oh, I am the saddest boy in town.
And look, and here's the thing: we're laughing about this because it's so monstrous.
Well,
you have to find some levity in it.
You're either going to slap somebody or you're going to have to laugh. You got to figure this out.
You do.
Well, because I mean, again, it goes back to like with the app. You are creating a generation of kids, and you are telling them, no, there is something wrong with you.
Right.
No, I'm all happy, smiley faces. No. One day
you're going to.
And it's like, why are you doing this?
Well, we were talking about this last week. Micah said it was like we were talking about the school board, and he said the effects of what they're doing. It's like when you throw like a rock into the lake. You see the first ripple, but you don't see the 6th or the 7th.
Yeah, everybody.
You don't see the downstream effects of what this stuff is.
Because technically, okay, here's the problem. Is I don't think all of the people that are implementing something like this are bad people. I think they're good people, and they probably are decent people with good hearts who are trying to do something good to help kids out. Because on the surface, checking in with the kid to see how they're doing in the morning is a really nice thing. But that's the first ripple.
Mhm.
What you're not looking at is at day 182, at 16 years old, at 26 years old, you have created a person who for years their worldview is something in me is broken.
Right.
And it's like, that's why, we're talking about schools and look at what happened in Virginia in the CRT conversations. On its surface, it's a good idea to talk about things like that. It is a good conversation to have because America has a very unique history. I'll say it that way, with race relations. And I mean, it's taken us a very long time to get where we are. But look at the ripple effect that it's going to have of telling a kid based on the color of your skin, that tells me how life is going to go for you. That's horrific.
Yeah.
Like telling a kid because of the color of your skin, you're a part of the oppressor class, or because of the color of your skin, you're part of the victim class.
Right.
That's cruel.
Right.
It's also called racism.
Yeah. I mean, that is a conversation we should absolutely have because, there are certain factors that still to this day, based on race, will influence certain things. There's no two ways about that. But to tell a kid at a young age, because of the color of your skin, life's going to be hard for you, or because of the color of your skin, you're the monster.
And I think
it's just wrong.
And I think that that's why it's scarier for something like this app and asking these questions, because we can look at a topic like, race relations or whatever. This goes, I think, way beyond that. I think this goes way into the psyche of children, way into the heart and minds of children. And I think the parents are totally, through no fault of their own, ignorant to it.
Well,
and I want to go back to what you said earlier. You said, I don't think the people implementing this, they think they're doing a good thing. They're bringing services to the
they think they're helping kids.
They do. And a good point.
The woman who's doing this bill, the 14-year-old vaccine, whatever, she's probably not a bad person. She probably thinks she's helping kids.
Right.
She probably thinks she's helping people. But in actuality, what she's doing, not to overstate it, is monstrous.
It is.
I mean,
but to your point about these people, they think they're doing something good with this. I can tell you this. When I found this document, I printed 78 pages. Now I printed on both sides, so it was only like 39 pages. But I printed 30 of these and took it to the school board meeting. I gave every one of my school board members one of these documents, and I said, "Have any of you seen this?"
Yeah.
They looked at me like, "What is this?"
It's the safety officer. It's their job to implement this, right? Is that how it works?
So the school board is the authority.
Yeah, but they have to approve that it's coming into the school.
So the way they got this in without having it get approved by the school board is through a grant that's written by the superintendent's grant writer, the secretary, whatever.
And that doesn't have to go through the school board?
No, it doesn't have to go through the school board. So the school board was like, what the hell is this? Right? Well, in this document, it says, I think I had it 125 times. It says, you need to have public involvement, public engagement in this document. Well, we never had that at my school district or any school district around here because I think the superintendents were tricked too. They just saw the money, signed for the money. And it's like, remember when Pelosi said, well, you got to pass it to know what's in it.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of one of those things. It's like, holy cow, here's $3 million, $2.9 million. I'm taking it. Abington got six.
Yeah, I saw the breakdowns of all the schools. Abington got quite a bit of money.
And so now you
stick with this app because it's literally with those kids. Like it's with them every day.
Every day. And then other apps, because there's other apps out there too. Ask them if they're hungry. Ask them if they're tired. Ask them if they'll ask them different questions. Those specific ones that I read to you were from Hazleton area.
This is like fucking 1984, man.
It is. So now all these kids now are getting tiered, right? Well, the freaking guidance counselors at the schools, they're like, I'm overwhelmed. I can't take all these. they're creating a mental health crisis. All right.
Or reinforcing one.
Or reinforcing it. All the while, there are kids in the district that really need mental health treatment.
Yeah.
It's being pissed away on kids that don't need it.
Yeah.
So for anybody that's listening to this is like, oh, this guy's anti-mental health. That's bullshit, because they are stealing resources away from kids that desperately need it.
Well, and it's become very trendy to have mental health problems.
Right.
And like I could say that as like
I remember when bell bottoms were trendy. Now we've just moved internally to the
No. I don't remember where I was, and I think my wife might have heard it and be like, "Do you hear this?" Because she's like, she gets so annoyed when people self-diagnose. Like sometimes I'll be like, "Man, I swear I have adult ADHD," and haha, because I'm a very just kind of scatterbrained person. She's like, "My God," I'm like, "I don't really. I'm just
Yeah.
Or somebody's like, "Oh, I'm depressed." Are you? Or are you just a little sad?
You know what my favorite one is? It's not allowed to be said in my house.
What's that?
I'm starving.
Yeah.
You aren't starving.
No, you're not starving.
Yeah,
you're mildly peckish.
Yeah, you're hungry.
Yeah.
My son busts my balls about that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not starving, Dad. I'm not starving.
Okay, good dad joke. But
At the end of the day, a mental health diagnosis is just another human being's opinion.
yeah, we were out somewhere and there was
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
and I think she overheard this group. I think it was like 4 girls, and they probably were about 14, 15. And they were bragging to each other about how much more time that they had been into their therapist than their other friends. And I'm like, this is just stupid.
We're creating.
It's become a badge of honor, or like a pecking order kind of thing. Like, oh, well, I'm on this medication, this medication, this medication. Oh, well, you're only on 2. I'm on 4. It's like that has become the world that we live in, especially amongst young girls.
Right.
Oh, they're being destroyed.
They are crazy.
They're being destroyed. And I look at things as an if then. If we do this, then what happens? I don't need to know all the options.
Our organization, Benny Johnson? No, Benny Herring, who's our vice president.
Yeah.
And our executive director, Jess. They just met yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. This week's been like one day. Yesterday they met with Riley Gaines.
Why do I know that name?
Riley Gaines is the one that tied Leah Thomas in the swimming.
Oh,
the girl.
Kentucky.
And when they went back behind stage to give the photo op for the trophy, they
kicked her out.
They gave the trophy to Leah Thomas.
They only had 1 trophy, but they tied. So what happened was, is she the one from Kentucky?
Yeah,
So they tied somehow exact same time. And they go backstage, it's a trophy ceremony, whatever. And they're like, we only have 1 first place trophy. So, and you'll both get one, but the person who came in second or third, like they get their trophy. So they just had to make a choice. They gave Leah Thomas the trophy. Why not? She was like, why not? Like, why?
No, I think they said it is going to her.
It's optics.
That's exactly
they
right.
They said 100%. They're like, it's optics.
She just spoke at CPAC last week. Watch her speech.
Riley Gaines.
First
of all, that sounds like a good wrestler name.
Yeah. So can I come in?
Jamie, you keep going. Whatever you want to talk.
Can I come in for a landing on this mental health?
Please,
for the love of God. Does it get worse?
Oh, this is the worst part.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
So
right, I'll do my best not to interrupt you.
All right. So no, I appreciate that, because then I can take a breath. So government creates the problem. Damn, they got the solution.
Yeah.
No.
Back in November in 40 Fort, Pennsylvania, there's a company called Kuth Mental Health. They started in the early 2000s in Europe and under a different name. That name is escaping me right now. I've been sitting here the whole time trying to think of it, but we could follow up on it.
Is it called Uncouth?
It's called Kuth Mental Health. And I went in and met with their director this morning.
Oh boy.
And
so Kuth Mental Health is a company that is where are they part of? What are they part of?
So they're part of the solution. Okay, they're part of the solution. So I got to look at my notes.
No, don't say it. Don't say it.
I held my tongue too.
Don't say it. Don't.
They are from Germany, and you're talking about solutions.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
And we're talking about messing with kids under. I mean, it all.
Don't say it.
It's all starting to add up a little bit there, buddy.
It all blends together at some point, right? So currently, Kuth Mental Health has 80 access to 80,000 students in Pennsylvania. Now this came directly from the director there. They have
Did he know who you were?
Yeah, I told him who I was, and we're a parent group. I told him who we were. He could look us up online, whatever.
Okay.
Very, very nice guy, very respectful. We had an hour. He gave us an hour and a half. Like, you know what I mean? It was just really, really good. So when we were asking him questions, these are just some of the highlights from today.
This was this morning.
Yeah, this morning. So keep in mind, they have access to 80,000 students across Pennsylvania right now. They are currently in Wyoming area, Wilkes-Barre area. I only asked them Luzerne County. I'm sorry, guys. They're currently in Wyoming area, Wilkes-Barre area, Wyoming Valley West, Pittston. They just met with Westside Tech, which is our trade school.
Yeah, like Votech.
Yeah. And they also just met with Nanacoke. So they're in four right now with meetings they just had with these other ones. So what these people do is when your school counselor gets overwhelmed because they got too many kids now that need mental health, that have mental health issues, the government gave the Department of Health and Human Services gave this company a $3 million grant. They put their U.S. headquarters in 44, Pennsylvania. He's getting me all this information, but these were some of his statistics that he gave me today. I said, why is there a need for this program? And he said, well, because based on a study that they have, 42% of children are sad or hopeless.
42%.
42%. And 1 in 3 girls have attempted suicide.
Okay.
And I asked him where he got this study from, and he said the CDC just published it in February of 2023. Well, if we have to do everything the CDC says, now we got to go back to this document.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Oh my God.
They knew all along what they were doing. They've blown this mental health thing through the roof.
Well, you know how you increase mental health issues. Shut everything down. You can't go see your friends. Yeah, grandma's just going to die alone in the hospital. You have to wear a mask everywhere you go. You can't see anybody's faces. Oh, and by the way, if you don't take this vaccine, then everybody's going to die.
Yeah,
you've created a terrified, broken generation.
All right,
Yeah.
so keep going.
Now they're only in Pennsylvania, but he told me they are planning on moving outside of Pennsylvania eventually. But this is their first rodeo, so November in the United States. He also told me, I asked him, does Couth provide background checks to the school districts for every individual that will be interacting with our children? And he told me, yes. I can't work the concession stand at a high school football game without a background check, without an FBI check, fingerprints, state police check, and child abuse check. He told me, yes. He goes, they're all PA licensed social workers. Believe me, we've looked at, before we even went in there, we've researched a lot of their people on LinkedIn and so on and so forth, their employees and their workers. He said they're going to be put into he said 65% of the population is self-directed that comes to Couth. Self-directed means they basically will log on another app, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a website. This one's a website, not an app. They log into the website, and if a kid needs help, there's resources there for them to pull down. Okay. Now, I don't know what any of those resources look like. My next meeting with him, I'm going to ask him for a login so I can sign in.
You can play around in that website a little bit.
But this was more of just like, this was a great meeting, very forthcoming. Like he wasn't, he wasn't
standoffish.
No,
he wasn't.
No.
Yeah. I'm sure you weren't either.
I wasn't. And then he said 35% are peer-to-peer support groups. So if if you have a suicidal thought and you're in 12th grade, you could talk to someone in Pittsburgh through a diary.
Okay.
No, it's not like a chat room. It's not a chat room.
Like a journal?
It's a journal. Thank you. It's like a diary journal.
Yeah.
Thing. And every journal and diary that is written. So let's say you and I have a Kooth account and we're talking back and forth. You're in Pittsburgh. I'm in Philly.
Is it anonymous?
It's anonymous.
Okay.
It's only as anonymous as the computer because it's still linked to your student ID and all that kind of stuff. If you're on your Chromebook.
Okay.
And so now I attempted suicide. Now I'm going to talk to you out there in Pittsburgh. You're in Pittsburgh. Every chat, I don't want to call it a chat.
Journal entry.
Thank you. Journal entry. Goes to a Kooth employee first.
Mm.
And
before it goes to Pittsburgh?
Before it goes to Pittsburgh. Every single journal, he told me. Now, to me, I said, no, wait a minute. How many employees do you have? Because you have access to 80,000 people. You have 20,000 users currently. And he told me he has 20 to 25 employees. He said, well, the average person uses 8 to 10 journal entries and then they're done. I'm like, this just does not add up to me. Like, this is my critical thinking side. I'm like, this just doesn't add up to me. And then he said 5%. He goes, I can't use US data because we don't have it yet. But in the UK, 5% of those kids fall into an escalated category. So I said, at what point in a crisis situation is the parent notified? He said, it depends on the situation. And that's all he would say about that.
Who's the arbiter of that? Who's the one that says this is a crisis situation, or who's the one that says this isn't a crisis situation?
Exactly. Who's doing it?
So
like, who's the end? Like you're saying, like, okay, who's the one stamping this and saying this is a crisis? Well, he told me every school has to have an escalation plan that goes along with the website. So I'm going to FOIA request the escalation plans and the contract and the privacy policies from all those 5 school districts to help protect these children. Okay, so last thing, I said, are parents notified? I already knew the answer to this question, but I asked him anyways because I wanted to hear it from his lips. I said, are parents notified when a child under 18 years old sets up an account? He said, no. 14 and up in Pennsylvania can access mental health without parents' consent. That's his answer.
Can you imagine being a parent and being like, for 3 years, you've been getting therapy without me knowing about it? For 3 years, you've been talking to people who aren't us?
Right.
For 2 weeks, even. Forget about 3 years. Forget about 4 years.
Well, and what happens if you as a parent disagree with maybe that therapist's worldview, or that your kid needs medication, or it's just,
yeah,
you're either an adult or you're not. And that's what this all boils down to. And this is why it's such a strange world for me, is, you know, and it kind of goes both ways for me, honestly. You know, you're an adult at 18, you can vote, you can join the military. There's lots of things at 18, rights and privileges that come along with it. You can go off and fight in a foreign war, be given training, killed, shot, the whole 9 yards. But when you come home at 20 years old, you're not allowed to have a beer. You're either an adult or you're not.
But you're allowed to be on your parents' health insurance till you're 26.
26. At 14, you don't get to make decisions about your health, mental or physical.
I know. Look,
parents have to be involved.
I don't. Oh man, I didn't. Look, I knew we were going to talk, and I knew that you were. I was like, oh, I probably know everything he's going to talk about. I didn't know.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
And it's. I don't have words. And I'm usually not really without words, because it seems
you need more smelling salts.
I don't know, man. I think I want to go to sleep.
I feel tired.
Yeah,
I feel emotionally drained right now.
That's what it is. That's what it feels like. It feels like it feels like a heavy negative emotional experience. Can I sign up for the app? No, I'm kidding. I don't.
You can. It's free.
I don't.
Frown face emoji.
I seriously, man. This is probably the first time in 43 episodes that I'm like,
I'll say it. I feel like we are very fortunate that Northeastern Pennsylvania has people like you. I'm a parent. I have a 16-year-old daughter. I have a 19-year-old son, and I have seen the way that schools have influenced them, positive and negatively. There's so many things, though, that I, as a parent, never were informed of, never would be informed of, that were happening behind the scenes that I don't like. I don't like this. And I literally was texting my kids like, hey, have you ever heard of this app? You know, my daughter, she was like, am I in trouble? I'm like, no, I'm just wondering,
Jesus.
curious. Yeah, I said, well, I'll tell you when I get
don't
home.
worry, honey. If you are, you can't tell your parents anyway.
Yeah. Dude.
My son, he's like, I had to do some sort of survey before being able to do my schoolwork. I can't remember what it is. And I'm like,
And they never told you, man.
no.
The surveys are a different animal. That's social emotional learning. That's literally for another episode.
Yeah, it's like,
seriously.
you know,
I have more.
He's got kids. You're doing something. I don't know.
Practicing.
You're practicing. We've pulled the goalie.
Every time.
But you know, like, this is the world that we live in, and it for me as a parent, it feels like we've hit this very strange time. I remember hearing a politician, I want to say maybe in Florida, somebody said something about, it was when I think the parental rights bill was being done down in Florida.
Oh, the Parents' Bill of Rights.
Something like that. I can't remember. But she made a statement to the effect of, children are the property of the state and we will train them to be good citizens. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to fly. Like, something weird is going on. And I can't quite put my finger on it. I've got some theories, but what seems like the attempted tear down of families. If you can destroy the family, then you can have better control. And I know there's some ideologies that is one of the pillars of, and it's just so shocking to me how through the American educational system, it's worked so beautifully the past decade. You know, the amount of kids coming out of high school now that are, I'm not getting married, I'm not having kids, I don't even know what my gender is. Like, it's like these kids are so confused,
Right.
confused. They don't know up from down, left from right. And thank God that there are people like yourself who are doing things like this. And I mean it sincerely.
Thank you.
You know, like, because I think we talked about this earlier today. Most level-headed people, and there's always going to be people on the extremes, but most people are going to be, listen, you're gay? Cool. Lesbian? Cool. You're trans? Hey, this is America. It's the freest country on earth. Like, knock yourself out.
Stay away from the kids.
Stay away from kids.
Exactly.
Leave kids alone. And I don't care what that reason is. I don't care if you're straight. Do not sexualize kids.
They're
Period.
They're the most.
End of conversation.
So children are the most innocent of us.
Yeah.
So
and
if for any group person to go after them is a bully.
They used to always be off limits. Kids were always off limits.
I don't know where it changed. I don't like Jamie. Like this threw me for a loop, man. And I don't.
You know what we need?
I feel highly emotional.
I know.
And I feel very. It's sinister.
It is.
Yeah.
It's sinister because the cause and effect is what matters. So if you do A, what is the outcome of this? What is the downstream problem? And it seems like it's being created, and schools are not being transparent. They're not being, the government's not being transparent. The elected officials aren't being transparent. Your own fucking children are not being transparent. And they're teaching, they're not teaching this. They're encouraging them to not speak to their parents.
Yeah, they call them safe spaces, and it's in that ESSER grant. It lays it right out in there that children need safe spaces in school.
So what are they saying that the parents
children need to be exposed to the world?
So
Right.
So what that grant is saying is that parents are not a safe space.
They're the enemy. Yeah, pretty much is. I mean, you know, in the whole document, it says, oh, you need to have stakeholders involved.
Yeah, that's a corporate term.
Exactly. And
Well, those that create the panic create the cure.
you got it. And that's what they're doing with mental health.
Yeah,
they are
I mean,
creating this
yeah.
on our children, and Pennsylvania is the epicenter.
You think it's the epicenter of the nation?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Because why would they have put their headquarters
In
of
44.
Couth in 44?
All right, fair enough. I didn't put that together. I was just like,
Luzerne
tax
County.
breaks.
Luzerne County is the epicenter. And when you really think about things, like when you think about what our children are being taught in school, I mean, how many, they just furloughed 22 teachers up at Crestwood. I don't know if you heard this
I didn't,
or not.
no.
They announced, they didn't do it like in a day. They announced that they're going to be furloughing 22 teachers. The reason they have to furlough 22 teachers, because I want to get back, he made an amazing point, and I'm trying to circle. I almost said circle. I can't say it. I can't say circle
Circle
B?
back.
Oh yeah, that
You know,
phrase took a
Goes
weird
through
turn
me,
about a year or
goes
two
through
ago.
me. Yeah.
Oh, is that because Jen Psaki said that?
Yeah. Oh,
Every comment was
Wait,
like,
wait,
go
hold
back
on.
to you.
Jen Psaki.
And normally, I always say like I like
The
when
P is
people-
silent.
I like
when the
when,
fuck has the P ever been silent?
I like when
Unless
people
it's Pfizer.
in politics and in her role. I like when people communicate that way because I don't want to be bullshitted too. If
Right.
you don't have the answer, just be like, I'll get back to you on it. No
But
problem.
she never did.
And she just never did.
No.
Every day.
Okay,
She could-
so
yeah.
okay, let's go back to circle back.
So you brought up about like the families being destroyed.
Yeah.
That's like an attempt to destroy the family.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're talking about is we're talking about Marxism. I mean, this is Karl Marx playbook.
Yeah.
All right.
But people will say that you're crazy for thinking that. People will say that you're entirely wrong.
Until you have receipts. One of the things our organization is really important, like we find very important, is when you talk bullshit, you need to have receipts. That's why I brought this document, and it's on our website for anybody to go read. That's why I brought this document. It's on our website. And what I'm gonna just talk to you guys about next is so important because, you know, if this country is ever going to fall, they have to divide the family. Okay, but watch very specifically about how family is defined. We think our family is our sons, daughters, our brothers,
Grandparents, mother,
sisters,
father.
right. The family of every community is the school district. Think about it. That is our community family. And if they could divide the family, meaning community, they divided us with masks. They divided us with vaccines. They divide us with abortion. They divide us with, they don't ever talk about anything that's unifying anybody.
Never.
Ever. When I say they, I hate when people say they say this, they say that, because I like receipts. But
Yeah.
you watch the news. That nobody talks about what's unifying people in America. They just concentrate on what is dividing us constantly.
No, it's always a squirrel water skiing. That's the only like positive story.
And I never knew who half of the people in my community were that were Democrat or Republican until this pandemic. I didn't know. I just knew people. I'm the president of our youth football and cheer organization for 8 years. And because my son played youth football through there and everything, and my daughter's in the program now. I didn't know in the club. Well, the first day of football practice, when half the club's masked and the other half isn't, it's like, oh, okay, kind of, you start looking.
Now I know.
Yeah, now I know. Right?
Yeah.
So, well, at least you think, I mean, some people wore them because they were extremely concerned for their families, and some people wore them as a political statement. It became a political statement.
What did Joe Rogan said? He said the masks have become
It's
the
the new
MAGA
MAGA
hat
hat,
of the
yeah.
left.
You
Yep.
got it.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that. But so when you talk about Marxism, talk about dividing people, and talk about breaking down families, Marxism, they want to break the family down. And when the whole Black Lives Matter movement started and everything, in their mission statement, it actually stated that part of their mission is to destroy the Western nuclear family. Because it's the only thing that makes America different than any other country out there. I'm not saying other countries don't love their families. We just happen to love them a little more here.
Right.
And we're just stronger community wise. And there's so many damn good people in this country, whether they're Democrat or Republican. And so I'm going to ask you guys, why all of a sudden in school is everything theory? Okay. Mm-hmm. You've got climate theory being taught. You've got critical theory being taught. You have gender theory being taught. Why are our kids constantly pounded? And I'm not saying specifically at my school district. I'm just telling you from what I see around other parts of the state.
In general, yeah.
Why are all of these theories coming in and destroying all the facts? Our kids are just being taught theory constantly. So critical theory has been around for a very long time, but nobody really recognized critical theory because they couldn't divide us with critical theory. And it's been around for 60 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's Marxist
it's been around for over 100 years.
Over 100 years. Yeah. But here in the US, it really took off about 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it was critical theory. And it never grabbed on in the United States because of our families and our communities. It just never caught on. And then back in the 1980s, they slapped race in the middle of it. It was always called critical theory, and it was always Marxism. It didn't catch hold here, so they put race in the middle of it back in the 1980s, and boy, did it just take off. It's crazy.
Who's that, like Ibram X. Kendi, like people like that?
This is literally the Bible of critical race theory. It's written by Richard Delgado and Gene Stefanik.
Oh, they were the older guys.
Yeah, this is literally the playbook for critical race theorists. So, and I actually I have 13. Yeah,
they tell us that that's not being taught in schools. It's only collegiately.
Okay, so it wasn't being taught. Social emotional learning was being taught, and social emotional learning's been around for quite a while, teaching kids kindness. Well, the definition of kindness is don't have an opposing opinion of someone else. See, they use all these like words that, well, my kid's class is called kindness.
Yeah, it's etymology. What is it? The root of the word, and then what is it being used for?
Who's defining good citizens? Going back to what you said earlier, who's defining good citizens?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna make them good citizens, good obeying.
Well, that's
citizens.
a very Marxist. That's the whole idea.
Correct. Gender theory.
Well, things are going great, guys.
Yeah. And gender theory, most people don't know this. This is something for you guys to look up. If this whole transgender movement that's happening right now interests you at all, or if it spikes your curiosity.
I mean, I was thinking about joining it. I was curious about that. I would say I'm on the fence, so I was bi-curious about it.
Yeah. I'm just tired of carrying around this hog all day long.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Back to that. Mike has sex all the time.
It always comes back. It always comes back.
You gotta laugh at these things, or else you're gonna eat a bullet. Like,
well, that's what I said to my wife. Like, when it comes to certain things, it's like my two options are laugh or just knock somebody out.
Exactly.
Well, so, what do you want me to do?
I'm going for the keep people talking.
Yeah.
However the hell that. Okay, so you were talking about gender theory.
So I'm no expert on gender theory or anything like that.
Oh, you're a man. You're not an expert on shit.
Yeah. Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
Did you just assume?
He
Yeah.
did. He did.
Sorry.
Must be the way I smell.
Yeah.
He smells like man. Yeah. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for wearing your man musk.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, continue. Sorry.
So this gender thing really has got me puzzled. Like, again, but gender theory is considered a mental health condition.
It's the only mental health illness. It's the only mental illness that we affirm.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? So like if you're bipolar, if you're manic, if you have what was Karen Carpenter, anorexia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No one ever
that's
goes.
what I have.
Yeah, it's apparent. That's how I knew you were a man.
Oh.
Yeah.
You never go, hey, I'm depressed, and you're like, keep going, keep being sad, or hey, I think I'm fat. You should stop eating. You should continue that path. Waste to nothing.
Yeah.
It's the only mental illness because it comes from body dysmorphia, which you feel like you're uncomfortable in your body. Now, all the stuff that I've looked into this is that most people who have body dysmorphia eventually accept that it's okay. So usually like by 18, 19 years old, the majority of the people just accept who they are. When you're 14, 13, puberty blockers at 9, whatever it is, you're not giving the kid an opportunity to accept it. Like, in other words, I'm 5'10.5". Not really much I can do about that. I have blue eyes. I can put contacts in, but I'm still faking it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
The statistic that really bothers me is that children, don't believe me, look it up. The majority of the children with body dysmorphia, about it's like 0.05% or 0.5% commit suicide. They're just never feel comfortable in their body, right? So about 0.5. We were talking before about like, it's the new emo, or I think that's what we're saying, where it was like, you have to be.
It's the new trendy
thing. Yeah. The concern that I have is, going back to the if-then thing, cause effect.
Right.
The more children that we put into that group, the more children that are going to commit suicide. That bothers me to my core. If you think, and that doesn't mean, one of the biggest misconceptions about this is the people that are opposed to it is that there's hate in their heart. There's not hate in their heart.
No.
As a matter of fact, it comes from a place of love. I don't want you to permanently hurt yourself. God forbid, if there is a God, you're wrong. You are too young to make that decision. It should not be in the television shows. It shouldn't, because what you're doing is you're taking a population of the country who's already confused going through puberty. I didn't know if I was. Do you remember puberty? It was fucking terrible.
I rather enjoyed it.
Oh, all right. Well, at least one of us did.
Oh, here we go again, Dan.
Because
I'm like, I had sex at 13.
It's highly concerning.
Could have if I lived in California.
It's highly concerning to me because what it does is it puts children unnecessarily down the barrel of a gun, and they're holding the gun. And I think it's a huge problem. And I don't think enough people are talking about it, because I think if you say, I don't think that is right, and I don't think the outcome that you're expecting is the one that you want, because there is no long-term studies on this. There is no long-term data on what the effects of the puberty blockers. Anybody who says that you take a puberty blocker and it's reversible, do me a favor. Try taking a puberty blocker at 10 years old, and then at 17, get off of it. And you tell me if your body goes through the normal hormonal cycles that it's supposed to go through. It doesn't. It's a fraud.
It's fraud.
Bullshit. And the problem is that now it's becoming an industry. And when there's an industry, there's a lot of money at play here.
$1.4 million per person.
That's where it's at.
In the lifetime of a transgender individual, in treatments and surgeries, is 1.4 million estimated. 1.4 million.
How do we create more patients?
Mental health.
We give them an app.
Jesus.
Do you see how like where people are like, oh, you're a tinfoil hat wearer, and it's like, put it all together.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This document alone isn't the full story. The one underneath it isn't the full story. This book isn't the full story.
But together.
But when you put the 16 pieces together, and this puzzle piece explains this part, this puzzle piece, and all of a sudden you have a full picture, and you're like, oh my God. Now I see where we're going.
I'm so heartbroken.
I'm heartbroken for these transgender individuals.
Yeah.
And here's why.
You don't hate them. I don't hate them.
I don't either.
I don't hate anybody except for evil people.
It is a theory. Okay, it's called gender theory for a reason. Do you know where gender
sort it out, then tell the kids?
Do you know where gender theory started? His name
was it Kinsey?
Dr. John Money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. John Money.
Wasn't he a pedophile?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was a pedophile.
Well, I mean, minor attracted person.
Well,
let's be fair.
Be
Another part of
respectful,
another
be
part
kind.
another
be
part
kind.
of where my theory is going.
Yeah.
Yeah, maps used to be places you would look at to find other places.
Yeah.
Now
I'm kind to
maps you
everybody.
want to keep away from your children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is why anybody running for school board should listen to this podcast, because
Ours?
any school board. Yeah. This
Oh, thanks, man.
podcast, This
That's a vote of confidence for us. I'm happy.
Anybody listening to this, or anybody running for school board, should know that the war has just started. Now I'm going to get back to two last things. And then
we all have to pee.
I know I've had for an
Are you
hour.
having fun though?
But I keep drinking water. So
Do you want us to do a pause and you can go pee, or
no? Let's wrap.
Let's
this
see if we
up.
can do it.
Yeah, let's
All right.
wrap it up, because
It's an endurance test.
like with George, when we had him on, you're going to be coming back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to get everything in tonight.
Well,
Yeah.
the gender theory thing is extremely important because it's tied to mental health. A lot of what we talked about today. Dr. John Money. What happened? There was two boys born, the Reimer twins.
I remember this. Yes.
yeah.
Okay. One did gender reassignments. Whatever.
Well, there was a botched circumcision.
That's what it was.
And Dr. John Money told the parents, you could transition him to a female right now. This was back in the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
He said you could transition them to a girl right now, and he'll never know the difference. So this David Reimer went through his entire life, never dating, never literally felt uncomfortable in his own skin, like really felt uncomfortable in his own skin. And at 38 years old, he committed suicide, and his brother died a few years later from suicide for survivor's guilt. Probably survivor's guilt. I'm not saying that exactly, but more than likely, it's like, holy shit.
They knew each other?
Huh?
They were twins.
They were twins.
Okay, I thought this was like they got separated.
No. So what happened was that there was the twin boys were born. There was a botched circumcision.
Yep.
Dr. John Money.
I got all that.
Okay, so they had two male boys.
The one twin committed
and
suicide.
one was raised
suicide as survival.
One was raised as a girl.
Got it.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, you went right into a Lifetime movie on us.
Well,
I heard they're very popular amongst the ladies.
That's how this works.
Okay, keep going. We should write that movie. That's terrible. I don't want to write movies about people's pain.
Actually,
okay.
I was telling somebody this story. She's like,
we'll call it 2 for the money.
I got a whole list of Lifetime movie titles. If you need to
We're not
look it
playing
up.
that.
We're not playing that game today. I'm too sad.
No. Okay, keep going.
And I was telling somebody this story the one day because they're like, well, like we were talking about this whole gender thing going on, and I'm like, I don't have an issue. I have an issue with the people pushing the agenda and pushing the theory. And I tell them about the theory, and they're like, I swear to God, there was a Law and Order episode about that. I'm like, maybe there was.
Probably.
I don't know that to be true, but
so these two kids committed suicide.
Yeah, but I feel terrible for these transgender people because they are literally living someone's sick, twisted theory, and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it is the parent pushing it down to the children.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it's what do they call that?
It's almost like
Munchausen's by proxy.
Munchausen by proxy. Yep, that's what it is.
And
those things still exist.
Yeah.
You just got to find the reason how they can Munchausen by proxy it.
Yeah. And you look at the people that we got these, we got furries in school. They were cat like freaking ears and tails and stuff like that, and pretend they're cats in school. And
because anyone who says no, they get labeled as hateful.
Right. But you can't wear a baseball cap in the school, but you can wear freaking cat ears and a tail and shit like
it's weird.
It's weird. It's just weird. Where have we come? Where have we gone? It's crazy. But I would love to anytime come back, because there's a lot to dive into with critical theory. I still call it critical theory because it was critical theory. It was still the same division and divisiveness for communities, to destroy communities, going back to family that you talked about. But there's a lot more. And the tenets of critical race theory is, if people just knew what the 13 tenets were. James Lindsay did a podcast
I know people hate him. He's straight shooter, man.
The 13 tenets of critical race theory. I literally wrote word for word on here. And then after I got done listening to his podcast, I bought this book because I'm like, I gotta see it. I need receipts. I don't need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just because
That's
somebody
how
told
we're
me doesn't mean
wired,
it's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I started reading this and I'm like, holy shit, they really do call Asians white adjacent people.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
White adjacent.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know who
Asians.
really loves to talk about race a lot?
Who?
Racists.
You're right.
Oh, yeah. That was nice.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so let's wrap this up because
We're all going to go take a bridge.
Hold on. I got this app you could download. Really, I'm in marketing from Rhythm and
citizensadvisorypa.com is the website. Just so you know, here's what they're fighting for: holding elected officials accountable to their oath as public servants, lowering taxes in our communities, fighting to keep divisive curriculum, programs, and applications out of our schools, parental choice. I can't believe I said it that way. Parental choice in education, defending the constitutional rights of our children. Jamie, I didn't know a lot of this stuff, and I thought I knew a lot of this stuff. That the app thing and have it be so like you hear about this shit and you hear it like you're on social media or Twitter, Rumble, or the deep dark pockets of the internet, but when you find out it's in your backyard and close, it really changes the perspective a bit.
the epicenter. I believe Pennsylvania is the epicenter of this. I mean, a lot of this stuff has been going on in California for a long time.
Yeah, I used to live there.
But now it's like here. And by the way, you mentioned just to one last thing on the taxpayers, because again, this money runs out. So all these programs are going to be.
Listen to this, Micah.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the hundreds of millions of dollars of programs that I just mentioned that are being installed in schools right now.
Mm-hmm.
The free money runs out in 2024.
Well, they'll just have to come up with some new ways to get more money.
What do you think that is?
I don't know. But to go on something you said, I was on my phone. I didn't want you to think I was being rude.
No.
Something you said that you, which stuck up in my head. And you said, you feel like with most of these kids that are, trans or gender confused, their parents are influencing it. So I very quickly looked up what percentage of people in the LGBTQ, AI plus, I don't know the rest of them community, what kind of homes do they come from? 21% Republican conservative leaning, and the rest are Democrat liberal leaning.
If it was real, wouldn't it be 50-50?
Theoretically.
Yeah, that's a.
What we got to do is maybe the next time you bring.
And by the way, the name of the company that did that poll is Gallup.
Really?
I think it has something to do with horses.
Yeah.
Maybe next time you come on, you can bring your executive director. Well, Dan, what do you think?
I learned a lot today. I need to check out my kids' Chromebook, I think, and see if they're answering these survey questions.
I was planning on not drinking today, but here we are again.
Yeah, I was supposed to do something in the morning, and I don't have to now. So,
well, I have an amazing parent fighting at Abington.
Can you say their name?
I don't want to.
Okay, no, that's fair. I don't want to bring any attention to that person.
But she's a warrior. She knows every detail of everything that I just told you. She knows it through and through.
Does she want to come talk about it? Maybe.
I don't. I
mean, here's the thing. The school board meetings are obviously public.
Yeah.
They're recorded.
Yeah.
So it's not like.
Maybe I'll do a little reconnaissance work.
Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, I can.
Really?
It's time for me to do something, right? Get off my ass and get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time for you to do something.
I do nothing else around here, so I might as well.
Yeah, you just dropped your phone and everything.
I'm a mess.
Do you have anything you want to say that we didn't cover? I know this probably needs decades to cover it.
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. I feel like I kind of feel what you're saying, Marky. I'm like, I feel like there's just a lot to process right now, because at the end of the day, here's the thing. You and I talk all the time, Dan, and we talk about
we don't talk to Dan.
Like we on the podcast, but like you and I hang out more, like, and we talk about these sorts of things all the time. And there's a lot of things that Marky and I disagree on. There's a lot we agree on. You can have a difference of opinion over masks, over whatever, over all sorts of stuff in school. At the end of the day, the important thing is this. They don't get to parent your kids. You're the parent. They're the teacher. And that's the issue. It's
not the teachers. It's the administration.
I understand. It's the school board, the administrator, whatever. But like the principal or the whatever.
I understand.
Like that's the thing. Like some people are gonna listen to this and say, well, I want my kid to wear a mask. Okay, fine. But imagine if you wanted your kid to wear a mask and your school banned masks. Imagine how you feel.
It works
then.
both ways.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if you wanted your kid to be able to go to the Scranton High School and be able to take as many books out of the library as possible. Well, they don't have one anymore. They took the library out of the school. Imagine, like, you can have differences of opinion, and that's fine. Like, Mark and I disagree on a lot of things.
I still haven't figured out what we disagree on because I love him too much. But.
Yeah, but like
maybe his pants.
Yeah, or lack thereof today. But but the thing is that we should all have in common is I, as a parent, get to have a say in my child's life.
Yes,
and that's the key part. Like, there's probably some things that we talked about here tonight. You might disagree with me. I might disagree with you. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfectly fine. But the point is they're my kids.
You might
end the conversation.
You might have a parent that says, "Hey, I'm glad the school's taking care of this mental health stuff."
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Okay, then I shouldn't have to opt out of it. What's all this opt out shit at schools?
No, you should be opting in.
Exactly,
and that's the key. And that's what people. I don't want my kids de facto by default signed up for all this stuff, and it's like, whoa! I have to now sneak around the back door and figure out what you're doing that I don't like, because there should be transparency.
There's gonna be less people that opt out. So in other words, and just I'm not most of the time I'm not mansplaining it to you. I'm mansplaining it to the other people.
Right.
So when if it was an option, right? Let's just say 20%, right? But when you don't make it an option, now you're at 80% and 20% opt out.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Just the perspective and how you look at it changes the math on who's involved in this.
You got that right.
Well, and at the end of the day, and for people listening, like if you've made it this far, awesome, good for you.
Kudos. Oh, is that the name of the place? Or no, Akuth. Sorry, my bad.
At the end of the day, here's what you have. I saw this really great video, and I don't know if it was from like a movie or I don't know. And they were talking about religion in schools. And there was somebody who was Christian, Catholic, maybe. They're like, I want, the Bible to be taught or prayer to be in schools. And then there was a Muslim father who was there. He said, well, I don't want you teaching my kid that because I believe this. And I think a lot of people can see the world through their own lens of, I don't want my kids learning this, or I don't want this being taught. Put the shoe on the other foot, though. Like for those that are listening that want kids to wear masks still, or wanted the school should. Okay, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. The difference is you should be able to make that choice for your kid, not some other random person that you did not give permission to make that decision.
Yes.
And that's kind of the crux of this whole situation. And that's what, as I try and explain to people, they're like, oh, you guys are just being, no. The point isn't, masks are not the issue. The issue is you don't get to tell me how to parent my kid. End of conversation. I mean, it's wild.
And you know what? That's the whole thing about this, the ESSER grant and like everything else, like literally this is how I could tell you, if I don't care who was governor when this was passed,
right? I'd
be pissed off. But this is how, I don't even know what the word is. This is how the alliance with a Democrat or a Republican party, they would open this and say, oh, Tom Wolf signed this. This is fine for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Or Donald Trump signed it.
Or Donald Trump signed
this. This is fine for me.
This is fine for me. If Donald Trump passes, or I don't care who it was.
It's not about party. It's about people.
Right. So,
well,
this is I do this one. Jamie.
Congratulations.
I just met you.
You left him speechless, and he never shuts up.
I can tell.
Ever.
I can tell that you're a good dude, and I can tell that this group is a good group. And I don't care if people say it isn't or they criticize it. Those are people who don't understand what's going on. Keep fighting your fight, and because at the end of the day, I see here at the top your mission. Your mission is about not hurting children.
Yes.
So, fuck.
Do you want to say it?
No. What a fucking no. I don't want to. I don't want to say. I'm sorry for cursing. It's just part of me. And
No, you don't have to apologize.
Dan?
Oh, what a week.
Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys very much.